I was once an ace sniper, but was unexpectedly reborn into the 1960s. At this time, not only were there no decent weapon, but we also starved most of the time. Fortunately, there were vast mountain forests nearby. To me, that was a mountain of gold and silver. I decided to use my own hands to change this impoverished family's fate, so my sister could eat meat for the first time. I was currently setting traps in the snow. Suddenly, a faint call came from the woods. I looked over and saw my sister. Pangxi, the accumulated snow had already covered the little one's waist, yet she still held a torn cloth bundle high in her hand. At only 4 years old, she could easily freeze to death in this forest. I immediately ran over, and couldn't help scolding her. Why did you come out? Where's Mom? Pangxi blinked her big dark eyes and handed the bundle above her head. This is for you. I was stunned for a moment, and scooped Pangxi up in my arms. Pangxi continued. Uncle brought this. Mom can bear to eat it. And I remembered you didn't eat this morning, so I brought it for you. I felt a rush of warmth in my heart. Despite the poverty and hardship, I truly felt the warmth of family. I gently replied, save it for now. Once I catch a rabbit, well, stew meat soup and eat it together. The little one carefully held on to the precious meat, clapping her little hands happily, her eyes full of light, leading my sister with one hand. I carefully searched for prey along the hillside. Suddenly I stopped and fixed my gait, locking tightly onto the base of a large tree. I knew that was fresh rabbit dropping, which meant there were rabbits nearby. Come, help me set the trap. Pangxi, hearing that we were going to catch a rabbit, immediately followed me in high spirits to set up the rabbit snare. I carefully selected a location and set the snare on a path frequented by rabbits. Immediately after, I used the hemp rope around my waist to make a simple trap. Once a rabbit touched it, it would trigger the mechanism, causing the rope to instantly tighten, firmly trapping the prey. My trap was quickly set up. Then we found a hidden spot and concealed ourselves. Pangxi snuggled tightly in my arm, shivering from the freezing weather. I hugged my sister affectionately, while simultaneously pondering how to navigate our future. For my sister's sake, I had to work even harder. After waiting for about an hour, a small black dot suddenly appeared in my field of vision. If you didn't look closely, you really wouldn't notice it. Pangxi asked curiously. Brother, is the rabbit here? I immediately held up a finger, signaling her to be quiet. Rabbits are very cunning. At the slightest sign of trouble, they will immediately hide. This rabbit weighed at least 6 or 7 cats. Just as the rabbit was about to step into the trap, another uninvited guest appeared. A snow marten was also eyeing the rabbit. I grew a bit anxious and lowered my voice, whispering into Pangxi's ear. In a moment, you go over there and jump around. He'll sneak over to the other side, and well surrounded on 3 sides, leaving one way out. Pangxi nodded excitedly. She was very obedient, squatting in place, while I silently circled the perimeter, blocking the rabbit's other escape routes, waiting for the snow marten to attack first. In an instant, the snow marten dashed rapidly toward the rabbit. Sensing the danger, the rabbit immediately ran towards my side. I let out a loud shout. Startled, the rabbit turned around and fled in Pangxi's direction. Pangxi was very obedient. She mimicked her brother jumping up and shouting loudly. Terrified, the rabbit turned back and dashed straight into the trap. It rushed into the trap. Instantly, the rope locked tightly around its neck, and the ferret was startled as well. In a flash, it burrowed into the snow and disappeared. I hurried over and brought my knife down, finishing the rabbit off instantly. Seeing this, Pangxi scrambled over as fast as she could. She looked at the rabbit covered in fresh blood. As we carried the rabbit home, the little one couldn't stop drooling the entire way. Our current home was a small wooden cabin on the mountain, left behind by my grandfather from his days as a mountain guardian. Mountain guardians didn't receive public grain rations, but they still had to work for the commune. Therefore, as compensation, they were allowed to forage and hunt on the mountain. Though this required the approval of the commune brigade captain, I thought to myself that hunting in the mountains was the only way right now to keep my mother and sister fed. From a distance, I saw my mother standing on her tiptoes in the yard, waiting for our return. Seeing our mother, Pangxi excitedly trotted over. Mom, brother caught a rabbit. We're going to eat meat tonight. When my mother Lu saw her son return, she couldn't hold back her tears. Many experienced hunters from the village had gone into the mountains, never to return. Are you hurt? I told you not to go, but you insist. Your uncle just sneaked over with 2 pounds of cornmeal. For us, it's too dangerous for you to go into the mountains. Do you understand? My eldest uncle was also a hunter in the village, but he nearly lost his life in the mountains, and never dared to step foot in them again. I smiled and handed the rabbit to my mother. Let's do the rabbit meat into a soup. I'm starving. He'll set up a few more snares later, and see if I can catch a few more rabbits. At least we won't starve to death. Not long ago, we were still living with my father's family. It was said that my father had traded 100 pounds of cornmeal for my mother, his second wife. She had to do all the household chores, even in the dead of winter. Her hands would be frozen and covered in crack. Every time I saw them, they were raw and bleeding. The most infuriating part was that if my mother cooked late for my grandmother, my father would grab a stool and beat her until her head was bleeding. And the meal being late wasn't even my mother's fault. There was no firewood left in the kitchen, and my older brother and sister were incredibly lazy. Because of this, I fell out with the family and took my mother and sister back to our maiden home. What broke my mother's heart even more was that her own parents wouldn't even let her through the door. Of course, my mother understood her parents' difficulty. They truly didn't have enough food to feed 3 extra mouths, but my mother's eldest brother couldn't bear to watch, so he secretly gave her the 2 pounds of cornmeal his wife had brought back from her own family. Seeing that I had caught a rabbit, Lu Xulin could no longer hold back her teeth. All right. If you're hungry, Mom will make you some rabbit soup. I smiled and said, Mom, take the rabbit's 2 hind legs off. They'll be delicious roasted. Lu Xulin wiped her tears and nodded in agreement. All right. Mom will make it for you. I picked up Pangs and said with a smile, Xiaoxi, we're having meat tonight. Meat, we're eating meat in the past if there really was meat. Pangxi and I wouldn't get a single bite. It would always be given to the grandparents first, then to the men, and then to his 2 children by the time it was our turn. There wouldn't even be any broth left. Pangxi was already 4 years old, but she had never tasted meat, nor did she know what it tasted like. Thinking of this made Lu Xulin's heart ache. Watching my mother keep busy, I crouched beside her to help Mom. I plan to set up a few more snares tomorrow. Waiting for rabbits in the snow is too dangerous. Lu Xulin grabbed my wrist tightly. Xiao Bei. Listen to Mom. Don't go anymore, Mom. We'll see tomorrow if I can find some work at the commune. Even washing their clothes would be fine. I smiled gently, Mother. Rest assured. Just hunting some wild rabbits nearby. Besides, if I don't find some way to make a living, how will I start a family in the future? Don't you want a daughter-in-law? As soon as I mentioned finding a wife, Lu Xulin was stunned for a moment, then beamed with joy. You're still just a kid, and you're already thinking about a wife. All right. Then go to your uncle and grandpa often to learn their skills before you master them. You are not allowed to go deep into the mountains. Do you hear me? While Mother was skinning the rabbit, I caught sight of the chilblains on her hands. Mother and my sister, as well as myself, have nothing to keep out the cold. If the dead of winter arrives, with the clothes we have on now, I'm afraid we'll freeze to death. It seems we also need to prepare winter clothes. But cotton is a rare commodity right now, so all I can think of is fur. There are quite a lot of roe deer in the northeast. It seems I need to go borrow a hunting rifle. At worst, when I bring back meat, I can give them some in return. At this time, the room was filled with the smell of meat. Xiaoxi crouched in front of the stove, wiping her drool from time to time. Mother took a coarse porcelain bowl and served me a full bowl of meat broth. Next was Pangxi's bowl. Even though there were only a few pieces of meat floating in it, compared to Mother's clear, watery broth, it was much more. Without a word, I picked up some meat from my bowl and gave it to Mother, and shared some more with Pangxi. Lu Xulin hurriedly said, I don't need it. You have to go up the mountain. You need to eat more to hunt. Mother, just eat it. You do all the chores at home and Xiaoxi is still young. She needs to grow. You both need to eat meat. Lu Xulin felt a wave of warmth in her, but the little one didn't dare to eat. She looked at Mother pitifully. Lu Xulin smiled and said, Eat. Your Pangxi excitedly took a bite. Mother, the meat is so delicious. Seeing the little one's mouth shining with grease, I was also happy. But right at this moment, footsteps came from outside the door. The person was very impolite, directly pushing the door open and walking in. I looked closely, and found that it was actually my older brother. Pang Dong. As soon as he entered, his eyes were fixed on the roasting rabbit leg. Oh my. You guys are living a good life, he said as he reached out to grab the rabbit leg. Immediately after, a fire poker struck his hand directly. I asked coldly, Who told you to touch it? We've already separated families. This is our home. Was startled, then glared at me. You dare hit me? I replied coldly. What are you doing here? I don't remember inviting you. Worried that we would start fighting, hurriedly urged, Xiao Bei, don't be impulsive. Xiaoxi and I will just let him have our rabbit leg. But the knife in my hand was already pressed against Pang Dong's neck. Pang Dong's eyes widened in fear. He didn't expect me to actually draw a knife over a rabbit leg. I looked at him with an icy gaze, filled with killing intent. If you touch Xiao's or my mother's thing, he'll chop off your fingers. If you don't believe me, try it. Right after, my face showed gentleness again. Xiaoxi, go eat with Mother, don't mind, I said. Pangxi quickly took the food. He won't touch your rabbit leg. Lu Xulin hurriedly shook her head. Don't be like this, Mother. It's fine. I withdrew the knife, grabbed the rabbit leg, and took a bite. The fat sizzled and dripped out. Pang Dong kept gulping hungrily. I said coldly, What do you want? If it's nothing, then please leave. Pang Dong gulped and said, Dad isn't angry anymore. If you don't go back, who's going to do the chores at home? Hearing this, Lu Xian's face also turned cold. So he came looking for us, just because there's no one to work at home. I said, My mother isn't enough hands. If there are chores at home, do them yourselves. Hearing this, Pang Dong immediately retorted and fought back. If you don't come back with me, you don't even have padded coats, you'll freeze to death sooner or later. There's no need for you to worry with me here. My mother and Xiaoxi will be fine. I started chasing him away. Pang Dong blushed with anger, dropped some harsh words and left. Lu Xulin and Pang shared a rabbit leg, while I ate one myself. All 3 of us were quite full. I stood up and said, Mother, the temperature is about to drop. I plan to go to the captain's place, borrow a hunting rifle, and find a place down the mountain to hunt some rabbits. Hearing that I wanted to borrow a gun, Lu Xulin immediately became nervous. I continued, I remember you told me when I was young that the woods near Grandpa's place were full of rope and you could hunt one with just a stick. Lu Xulin nodded. But that's easy to get lost, and recently there have been wolves around there. I smiled and replied, Mother, accompany me tomorrow. I don't know the way around here. I said this to show some of my capability, and put my mother at ease. Hearing that I wanted to take her along, she thought about it and agreed. Later I felt my way in the dark. Arrived at the captain's house and knocked on the door. Soon someone stood in the yard and asked, "Who is it?" "Captain, it's Pangbei Lu Shulin's son." Captain Lu Hai and Lu Shulin grew up together. Knowing who it was, he opened the door. He thought I was there to borrow grain, and let out a helpless sigh. "Captain, I'm not here to ask for food. I just want to borrow your gun. I plan to go hunting in the mountains." Lu Hai immediately waved his hand. "Our commune only has this one hunting rifle. If I lend it to you, what happens if a wild boar or wolf enters the—" I quickly said, "I mainly want to hunt something, to deal with the cold." Lu Hai thought for a moment. "Come in and let's talk." So I sat down in the main room. I could faintly hear a baby crying, and the sound of adults weeping. Lu Hai's face showed a trace of sorrow. I asked in confusion, "Captain, your family has a baby?" Lu Hai nodded. "My daughter-in-law gave birth to a grandson for me, but life in our commune is too hard, and my daughter-in-law hasn't recovered well. The baby has no milk to drink, and is just fed a little paste." I had an idea and said, "If I hunt and bring back some meat, to help your daughter-in-law produce milk, wouldn't that work? Just lend me the gun." The reason Lu Hai let me in was exactly for this. Lu Hai looked at me and said, "Do you know how to use a gun, kid?" "Yes, I handled one when I was a kid in our commune." Lu Hai thought about it, gritted his teeth, went into the room, took out a gun, and placed it on the table. It was a very old hunting rifle. I fiddled with it and loaded around. Then I ejected the shell. Seeing how skilled I was, Lu Hai handed me 5 bullets and said, "I can only give you 5 rounds. If you can hunt something and bring it back for my daughter-in-law, then I'll agree to let you be the mountain guardian." My eyes lit up. Getting the captain's promise made me extremely happy. However, I didn't have many bullets right now. If I wanted to make clothes for my mother and sister, as well as myself, even if every shot hit 5 bullets might be enough, I had to think of another way. I dismantled a few fallen fences, picked out some wooden sticks and sharpened them to make some primitive hunting weapons. Getting up early the next morning, I slung the hunting rifle over my shoulder and took my mother and sister to the woods at the foot of the mountain. There were also fierce beasts roaming these woods, led by Lu Shulin. The 3 of us each held a sharpened wooden stick in the freezing snow. The dense forest was oppressively quiet. After walking for over an hour, we didn't even see a shadow of a roe deer. "Xiao Bei, there might not be any roe deer here." I shook my head and said calmly, "Mom, there must be roe deer in this forest." I saw many traces of plants being chewed by herbivores. We walked for about another 40 minutes. Just when Lu Shulin was about to give up, I suddenly spoke up. "Mom, don't say anything." Lu Shulin froze. I pointed toward the woods by the river where there was a mother roe deer with 4 fawns. A wave of joy washed over me. Seeing the roe, Shulin then grew worried. "Xiao Bei, do you know how to use a gun?" I smiled and didn't explain, but simply chambered around. "Mom, you and my sister watched." Then I crawled forward in the snow, carefully closing the distance. I was quite confident in my marksmanship. At this moment, my muzzle was already aimed at the largest mother roe deer. I held my breath, my finger on the trigger, silently calculating the wind speed and distance. Bang with a gunshot. The roe deer's white heart-shaped rump excitedly I rushed forward with the gun and fired another shot. Bang. This time it was a headshot. Looking at the roe deer lying on the ground, I also lay down next to it. Lu Shulin, thinking I was injured, shouted worriedly, "Xiao Bei, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Mom, you and Xiaoxi stay hidden." I lay in the snow feeling the biting cold. At this time the roe deer that had just run away, perhaps out of curiosity, didn't take long before they all ran back. I just played dead on the ground. One roe deer even nudged me with its nose, as if to see what kind of thing I was. Right at that moment, I aimed at its belly and fired, killing it. The rest of the roe deer tried to flee, but I fired again, taking another one with a headshot. The last bullet injured a roe deer's lip. I grabbed a wooden stick and finished it off directly with one strike. I used 5 bullets to take down 4 of them. I looked at the roe deer on the ground excitedly. "Mom, come quick, it's Rich." Little Pang, she also mimicked me holding a stick. Hit, eat meat. I had expended quite a bit of energy just now, so I plopped down on the ground, looking at the roe deer scattered all over the ground. Lu Shulin was completely dumbfounded. Lu Shulin and I skillfully tied up the prey together. Then, we hauled the roe deer back home. Upon returning to the wooden cabin, the 3 of us immediately threw ourselves into intense work. Since resources on the mountain were limited, we planned to soak the fresh hides directly in warm water, and then smoke them over a fire, so we could wear them as soon as possible, to fend off the cold. Lu Shulin often followed her father to learn leatherworking as a child, so she handled it with ease. I carefully selected about 40 or 50 pounds of premium meat, shouldered the meat and the hunting rifle, and headed toward Lu Hai's house. As soon as I walked in, I heard a child crying, "Captain Lu, I'm here to return the gun, and I brought some meat too." Hearing there was meat, Lu Hai immediately rushed out of the house. When he saw me carrying the rifle and a full load of meat, his eyes lit up. "Oh my goodness, you hunted this much." "It's not actually that much." I handed the meat to Lu Hai, who took the roe deer meat, grinning from ear to ear. "This is great. My grandson won't go hungry now." Then I took off the rifle and handed it to Lu. Lu Hai asked, "Exactly how much game did you hunt?" I proudly held up 3 fingers, 3 giving you half, and keeping half for myself. I couldn't possibly tell him everything. Lu Hai stared at me with wide eyes. If he hadn't seen the meat with his own eyes, he definitely would have thought I was bragging. Louis pondered for a moment and praised, "You're quite something, kid. From now on the cabin on the mountain is yours. You can handle any supplies you find up there yourself. Also, I'll go to the township to request a new rifle for you this. Lu Hai turned back to the house and brought out a bow he used when he was young, and a beautifully crafted leather quiver. My father left this behind. You should be able to put it to good use. I took it and carefully examined it. Although the bow had no string, its limbs were as shiny as new. It was obvious the previous owner cherished it deeply. This is a fantastic bow, Captain. Thank you so much, I said sincerely. Lu Hai handed over another bag. You can use this hemp to twist a new bowstring. Your mother can help you process it. She's the best at making bowstrings in our village. I nodded in understanding. Thank you for the guidance, Captain. With that, I took my bountiful harvest and returned home, sharing the news that the captain agreed to let me be the mountain guardian with my mother. Upon hearing this news, Lu Xulin couldn't hold back her tears. She felt that I had truly grown up. Even before turning 18, I could already make a living for myself. Mom, the captain gave me these weapons. Once I fix the bowstring, hunting small animals will be no problem at all. Lu Xulin wiped away her tears and said with a smile, let Mom help you fix the bowstring. You go get some rest. I'll take your measurements in a bit to make you all fur coats. Okay. Mom, you should make one for yourself too. We'll each have a fur coat to keep out the cold. Lu Xulin wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes again, smiling and nodding. Good boy. You are truly a blessing to your mother. You already know how to care for me now. I twisted the hemp to make the bowstring while preparing dinner. As soon as Xiaoxi walked in, she excitedly shouted, do we get to eat meat again? Of course, and it's all thanks to your sensible brother Xiaoxi. Nodded repeatedly. My brother is the best. The family sat together, enjoying the long-lost meat. The delicious brought tears of joy to everyone's eyes. Early the next morning, I hurried up the mountain to set up traps. Meanwhile, Lu Xulin took some fresh roe deer meat to visit Uncle. When Uncle Lu Qingxue first saw the meat, he didn't want to accept it, but Lu Xulin insisted on pressing it into his hand and shared the good news that I had become the mountain guardian. Upon hearing this, Lu Qingxue, overjoyed, he turned and went into the house. He brought out a needle and thread and gave Lu Xulin the red-tasseled spearhead he had gotten when he was a child. Seeing this red-tasseled spearhead again, Lu Xulin couldn't help but sigh, as this was her brother's most beloved possession. This thing, as long as it's thrown with enough force, can pierce right through a wild boar. Besides that, Lu Qingxue also gave her a whetstone and a large handful of unassembled bows and arrows. These bows and arrows were specially made by their father, and they were very formidable gear. Lucia's eyes welled up with tears of emotion. Brother. Thank you. Lu Qingxue just sighed, his heart filled with a sense of helplessness. What's there to thank me for? I haven't protected you well as an older brother, and you... Lu Xulin wiped her tears and said softly, brother, just don't worry about me. I'm doing pretty well right now. I won't say any more. I need to hurry back and make clothes for Xiaobei. Watching his sister's departing figure, Lu Qingxue felt a mix of emotion. He knew that although his sister made it sound easy, it was actually incredibly difficult for the three of them to survive in the mountains. Lu Xulin also understood her oldest brother's guilt, but she didn't resent anyone. When she returned home, she made me a hunting bow, short spears, and other items. When I saw the new gear, my heart was filled with joy and gratitude. I took the red-tasseled spear from my mother's hands. It lacked a bit of weight, but if thrown, its lethality was definitely very strong. Now that I had a short spear and a bow with arrow, although they were cold weapons, they were considered top-tier equipment for hunting. I happily fiddled with my new weapon. Mother called me over to take my measurements, muttering to herself that making my clothes first was the priority. Because she and my sister were often at home, they didn't need anything too nice. I felt very warmed by my mother's care. I'm fine, as long as I have clothes to wear. Okay, planning to go to the Zhaozi River to catch some fish for us to eat. Xulin was quite relieved to hear that I wasn't going into the mountain. I still need to prepare some hides for you with Xiaoxi. Go gather some firewood, it's too cold in the mountains. I immediately agreed, and carried the short spear to gather firewood. Because I was too focused on gathering firewood, I suddenly looked up, and found many footprints on the ground. They weren't human, but footprints similar to a dog. Confused, I followed the tracks forward, and realized these were wolf footprints, and there were quite a few of them. I instantly became alert, and tightly gripped the short spear in my hand. This was definitely not just one or two wolves, but a wolf pack. I hurriedly put the firewood on my back, and turned around to run home. Fortunately, no accidents happened, but I still had lingering fears when I got home. If I had encountered them, there'd be no chance of survival, which would only make my mother worry. Looking at our courtyard wall, I had to find a way to repair it. This thing, let alone wolves, couldn't even stop dogs. It was truly too dangerous. I had just stepped through the door with the firewood on my back. At this time, my sister Pang Nan walked toward me. I was quite disgusted by this person, who had a bitter and mean personality. And she always loved to seek a sense of superiority. Dad has already forgiven you this time, so go home and get to work. Look at these rags you're wearing. I can lend you this military over to wear for a couple of days. If you have something to say, say it. If not, then get lost. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. Pang Nan sneered coldly. You're just jealous that I have a military overcoat to wear, and you don't. At this time, my sister Peng Shi ran over. Mother followed me out, holding a robe. It's cold outside. Put this on. Actually, Lu Xulin had already heard Pang Nan's sarcastic remark, but deliberately pretended not to see her. My sister and mother helped me put on the leggings together, and also put a fur hat on me. Instantly, I felt warm all over. However, Pang Nan couldn't stay calm. She looked at Pang Shin me wearing our newly made fur clothes, feeling extremely jealous. She immediately yelled at Lu Shulin. What about me? Why did you only make them for the two of them and not for me? Lu Shulin shot Pang Nan a cold glance. These are my son and daughter. If you want one, go ask the adults in your family to make it for you. Lu Shulin understood very well that this was an ungrateful wretch who could never be won over. Previously, Pang Nan was full of herself with her military overcoat. Tears of resentment welled up in her eyes. You're bullying me. I'm going back to tell Dad. I snorted disdainfully. Go ahead and tell him. But I am now the mountain guardian of the Qinglonggu commune. If you keep coming here to bother us, I'll have the commune captain deal with you. You guys, Pang Nan, was frightened by my words. In that era there were often conflicts between commune, and commune members were highly united and protective of their own. Lu Hai, as the brigade captain, was famous for being fiercely protective of his people. Just you wait. Pang Nan ran away crying. Lu Shulin looked at her retreating back, and didn't take it to heart at all. Xiao Bei. Go chop some wood, Mom will. Stew some meat for you two later. My sister and I clapped our hands happily. Okay, now I no longer had to worry about food, and we had enough winter clothes. Lu Shulin now had the confidence to survive this winter, but I knew clearly that this alone was not enough. Our small wooden cabin still couldn't withstand the cold wind. Once the severe cold wave arrived, there was still a danger of freezing to death. Therefore I had to repair the house as soon as possible. This not only required a large amount of building material, but also enough manpower. Thinking of this, I felt my pressure double. The life ahead of me was truly full of challenges. I got up early, planning to walk around the area to see if I could find more prey. I first went to the place where I had set the traps before. I successfully caught a rabbit. This was a rare delicacy. When I went to check another trap, I found wolf footprints in the snow again. This meant there really were wolves around the cabin. My heart instantly tightened. I began to worry about the safety of my mother and Xiaoxi. I quickly scouted the terrain ahead and patrolled the nearby surroundings. First I cleaned up the blood trails on the ground. To prevent the danger of attracting the wolf pack, I immediately hurried back and reported the situation to the captain, reminding the villagers to secure their houses. Carrying my bow and arrows, I prepared to go deeper into the woods. I saw something seemingly running ahead. I immediately hid myself and carefully observed the situation on the ridge. I found a pack of wolves driving a herd of wild-lead goats. Under the wolves' pursuit, accidentally fell off the cliff. At this moment I recalled my mother's word. Wolves would adopt this strategy before winter. Drive the goats off the cliff to fall to their deaths, and then leave the carcasses to freeze in the snow. I realized this was a great opportunity. These goats that fell off the cliff, weren't they exactly the meal tickets needed to hire people to repair the house? I couldn't help but smile. But right now wasn't the right time to. After all, the wolf pack might not have gone. What could these few arrows on me do against them? I silently memorized the location, and was just about to head back. Suddenly, I noticed something moving in the woods. Looking closely, it turned out to be a lost wild goat. I drew an arrow, kept my eyes fixed on the goat, drew the bow and knocked the arrow. Swish, as the arrow shot out in a curve. It hit the goat right in the belly. The goat let out a bleat, and tried to run away. I didn't waste any time. I grabbed my short spear and charged it. I threw it hard at the goat's back. The goat let out a miserable cry and collapsed on the ground. I immediately ran over to it. I made sure it was dead. Before I felt relieved. Without a hunting rifle on the mountain, it is really exhausting. Catching just one goat drained all my energy. After cleaning up, just as I was about to sit down and rest, I heard a burst of wolf howls. Instantly the hairs on my body stood up. I immediately lunged at the goat, and ignoring my exhausted body, I dragged its carcass, and hurried home as the sky had already grown dark. I saw my mother standing at the door, waiting for me. Mother, look what this is. Seeing me return with a wild goat, Lu Shulin beamed with joy. Where did you hunt this? Such a big goat. And caught this one. Plus I noticed signs of a wild wolf pack, and quite a few of them. Hearing this, Lu Shulin flipped out. What wolf pack? Did you go deep into the mountains? I hurriedly shook my head. I just saw it from the hilltop, that place. I need someone to go with me to bring things back. We can use this goat meat to treat the villagers to a meal, and have them help us fix the fence outside, and dig a root cellar for us. Lu Shulin had also heard Captain Lu mention wolves near, so she was always worried it was too dangerous. Wolf packs are no joke, Mother. I'm the mountain guardian now. Everyone is counting on me to drive away the wild wolves. If we invite everyone over, we can build some large traps. Otherwise, if the wolves enter the village, the captain's old hunting rifle won't be of any use. Lu Shulin, irritated, grabbed me by the ear. How old are you? And you want to hunt wolves? Do you have a death wish? Don't you want to get married? Mother, why do wolves enter the village? Because they lack food. If we want to drive these wolves away, waiting for them to leave on their own is impossible. We have to force them to relocate. Lu Shulin rubbed my head and said with a smile, my son has grown up. Warm yourself by the fire. Mother will cook some goat for you. Lu Shulin skillfully reached out, dissected the goat, taking out the offal and storing the meat. Looking at the goat skin, she thought about making some more clothes for me. Before long, a steaming bowl of goat soup was. I took a sip of the hot goat soup, and it felt as if all my pores opened up. It's just a pity we have no flour at home. It would be perfect if we had some oil pancakes to go with it. I started to calculate in my mind. If we only eat meat, we won't starve to death. But having absolutely no staple food won't do. My sister is still young, and her body needs to grow. I wondered if I could get my hands on some grain. Even though everything is strictly rationed, there are still black markets. Hunters in this era are important clients for the black market. They can supply meat, medicinal herbs, and animal furs. These are all things black market merchants love. But for now I should settle matters at home first. After dinner, I went to the brigade captain's house, and Tolhai broke into a cold sweat. How are you so bold? Knowing there are wolves. You still went. From his tone I could tell. He was worried about me. I scratched my head and smiled, saying, I just observed from a distance, and didn't dare get close. So what do you need me to help you with? I didn't expect the captain to be so agreeable. I wanted to borrow some men to clear out the wolf pack's food sources, so once they run out of food, they'll have to leave. He stayed silent for a moment, then looked at me. Sure, I'll send people to find you first thing tomorrow morning. Seeing the captain agree, I finally felt relieved. After going home, I immediately went to sleep. Early the next morning I finished eating my meal, and by then the captain had already arrived with some men. There were over 20 strong young men. Lu Hai saw me and smiled, saying, I brought the men for you. How do you plan to assign them? I smiled and said, a portion of them will come into the mountains with me. Another group will go chop wood. We'll try to bring everything back before noon. The rest can start repairing the yard at our house. Lu Hai nodded with a smile. All right. Do you have enough food prepared for noon? I nodded confidently. There's definitely enough meat. But as for flour, my family doesn't have any. When the crowd heard there was meat, their eyes instantly lit up. How long had it been since they last had meat? Lu Hai burst into laughter. As long as there's meat, that's fine. Lu Hai called out the names of a dozen men, telling them to follow me. The remaining few went to chop wood. I led the dozen men straight toward the cliff. After arriving at the bottom of the cliff, I quickly found where the goats had fallen. A large number of goat carcasses were frozen on the snow. Seeing so many goats, the men who came with me grinned from ear to ear. They had brought 3 snow sleds this time, and didn't expect to fill them all up, shouting work chant. The crowd hauled the goats out of the mountains. Seeing so many goats, Lu looked at me in astonishment. I chuckled. Captain, treating everyone to goat meat, in exchange for helping me build the house. That's not asking too much, right? Lu Hai laughed heartily. Of course it's not too much. At this moment, Lu Shilin also walked over, beaming with joy. You must be tired. Take a rest first. In a bit, I'll have some people help me process the goat's muck. Put away the goat hides, to use for bedding. Let's make some goat offal soup for noon, and we'll have goat meat for dinner. When Lu Hai heard this, he immediately shouted, call a few women who are good at cooking to come over. We're having goat offal soup for noon, and tonight Xiaobei is treating us to goat meat. Great, the commune members excitedly cheered one by one, working with even more vigor. I saw that the wooden fence was already secured, and in the yard a few men were repairing the sealed cellar, so we could hide in it when the wolves came. Since Lu Hai brought a lot of people, the work progressed very quickly. It wasn't long before a few women who knew how to cook arrived. They helped Lu Shulin process the goats while acting as the family's little joy. Before long, the aroma of meat filled the air. Everyone felt like a cat was scratching at their hearts, sneaking glances at the large pot of soup as they worked, guessing it was about time. I told everyone to take a break. Food will be ready soon. Everyone dashed over in a flash, immediately gathering around the large pot of soup. Lu Hai smiled and patted my shoulder. Keep up the good work. I'll assign you as the mountain patrol captain in the future. I was taken aback. The status of a mountain patrol captain was equivalent to a militia captain, perhaps even slightly higher. Uncle Hai, if I become the mountain patrol captain, could my mother do some work in the village? She'll go crazy staying on the mountain all the time. Lu Hai smiled and rough. You're quite a filial kid. Of course she can if we have a good harvest next year. I'll let your mother work, and your sister can even go to school and such. Hearing this, my heart warmed, and I nodded with a smile. Thank you, Uncle Hai. I suddenly remembered that I also had to take care of my maternal uncle's family. After all, Grandpa and Uncle treated our family quite well. At this moment, my uncle was checking the wooden fence. I walked over to help. Uncle, go get some rest. You've been busy all morning. Lu Qingxue gave an honest smile and shook the wooden fence, feeling at ease only after making sure it was sturdy. Where's my aunt? Why didn't she come over to eat? We're having meat today, Lu Qingxue said sheepishly. Isn't she at home watching the kids? Then bring the kids. Deal. I'll have Mom pack some meat for Grandpa and Grandma later. Hearing this, Lu Qingxue felt warmed and truly grown up, which gave him a sense of relief. Uncle, I provided the meat and we're all family. Hurry and call Anne and the others over. We're eating soon. Lu Qingxue was tempted. After all, it meant his wife and kids could have some meat. He immediately ran home to fetch. Lu Shilin had overheard their conversation and felt her heart warm as well. Mom, is there enough meat? Lu Shilin nodded. And with all these sheepskins, what do you plan to make, Mom? Is there a black market nearby? Just then, Lu Hai happened to walk by and answered, there's one down, but you have to go at dusk. Your mom knows the place. I asked Captain, can guns and ammo be acquired? Lu Hai chuckled, of course, but your few sheepskins aren't enough. Even a cheap one would cost 200 to 300, that expensive. Lu Shilin couldn't help but frown. She knew this was extremely important to her son. Lu Hai smiled. If it wasn't expensive, would it be called a gun? We can start with a cheaper one. Lu Hai then reminded me of telling you don't get caught. If you do, you'll be in huge trouble. I smiled and nodded. Although regulations were strict in the 60s, where there was demand, there was a market. Getting shotguns and bullets on my own was impossible. Before long, my aunt's family arrived just in time to eat. We had cornmeal flatbreads lunch with mutton soup. Everyone got a large bowl and ate with huge smiles. After all, eating meat was something people back then could only dream of but rarely obtain. In the afternoon, I joined the repair crew, mainly instructing everyone on how to set up traps. Pangxi played very happily with her cousins. The little girl finally had. Motivated by the meat, everyone worked with great energy. Digging the cellar and patching the holes were basically all finished. Moving into the new wooden cabin, our family was extremely happy. I finally had my own room and Aunt brought over some unused bedding for me. After a busy day, a wave of drowsiness hit me. I grabbed my mother, processed the sheepskins under the dim oil lamp. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps crunching in the snow came from outside. Even though it was very quiet, it put me on high alert. Having been a sniper in my past life, I immediately got up, rushed out, and saw my mother working. Mom, stop working, quickly wake Xiaoxi and go to the cellar. Lu Xulin was startled. I immediately signaled her to be quiet, then lowered my voice and said, the wolves are here. The moment Lu Xulin heard there were wolves, she was too terrified to move. We slaughtered so many sheep during the day, it must be the smell of meat and blood that attracted them. Lu Xulin immediately picked up the sleeping Pang Xi and ran into the cellar. Seeing that my mother and sister were safe inside, I didn't rush in. Seeing me stay put, Lu Xulin yelled anxiously, what are you doing? Hurry up and come down. I know that if I go down and the wolves get in, we still won't be able to escape. Right now we have to find a way to drive them off. Mom, take good care of Xiaoxi. Don't worry about me. I closed the cellar cover directly, and even found something to conceal it. Lu Xulin kept knocking on the cover, but I turned a deaf ear to it. I took down my bow and arrows, grabbed the short spear, and prepared to fight the wolves. I blew out the lamp first, hid in the darkness, gripping the short spear, and held my breath. At this moment, the fence outside the yard had been pushed open. Only 3 wolves had entered the yard, which wasn't a difficult task for me. Actually, just by the scent alone, the wolves already knew there was someone inside the house, but the wolves were extremely cunning and didn't launch an immediate attack. I hid in the darkness, not rushing to make a move. If I rushed out recklessly, facing 3 wolves at once would be suicidal for me. I deliberately left the door open a crack. Before long, a wolf spotted this opening immediately. This guy poked its nose in, and Sniv didn't make a move either, waiting for an opportunity as the wolf squeezed its body in. The wolf carefully pushed the door open. At this time, the scents in the room were very chaotic, so the wolf couldn't spot me immediately. I kicked the door. With a bang, the door closed. I jumped up and stabbed the short spear directly into the wolf's body, pressing my whole weight firmly against it. The wolf was still struggling, and almost threw me off several times. I tightly grabbed the back of the wolf's neck, pulled out the small knife from my waist with my other hand, and frantically stabbed at the wolf's neck. It wasn't until the wolf stopped moving that I finally stopped, before I could even rest for a moment. The other 2 wolves reacted immediately. They stared intently at the door and let out whimpering growls, not daring to rush in recklessly. And at this time, I grabbed my bow and arrows and opened the door. The wolves didn't rush in, but instead took a few steps back. Whoosh, an arrow suddenly shot out from the dark doorway, hitting a wolf direct. Seeing its companion hit by an arrow and howling as it crashed into the fence, the other wolf was so terrified it immediately turned and fled. I didn't chase after it, as there might be a large pack of wolves surrounding me, so I ignored it, and walked straight toward the wolf I had shot in the eye, because this wolf was severely injured. It whimpered in the corner. I grabbed the short spear, and without another word, stabbed the wolf right through its heart, to fend off 3 vicious wolves all alone, and even managed to kill 2 of them. Even an experienced hunter might not be able to do this. Not to mention I didn't even have a gun. After making sure the wolves were completely dead, I quickly blocked the fence securely. Once I confirmed it was safe, I opened the cellar cover. Lu Xulin, seeing my face covered in blood, was so scared she hugged me and cried, where are you hurt? Let me see. I pointed at the corpses on the ground and smiled slightly. It's not mine. It's this beast's. Mom, help me make a cloak out of the wolf pelt. What? You killed 2 of them, and you're completely unharmed. If she hadn't seen the wolf corpses with her own eyes, Lu Xulin wouldn't have believed it. There was no one else here either. Could her son be a hunting genius? If that was the case, maybe her son could truly become the mountain guardian. She quickly wiped clean the blood on my face. My son is so capable you can hunt wolves at just 17. If your grandpa knew about this, he'd be thrilled. I then carried my sister Pangxi out, and the little one was already too scared to make a sound. Don't be afraid, Xiaoxi. With me here, you have nothing to fear. Pangxi looked at me pitifully, saying scared with a tearful voice. Xiaoxi has her brother. Lu Xulin felt heartbroken, seeing me covered in blood, and her little daughter crying tears like rain. These 2 were still just children, yet forced by the hardships of life to bear burdens they shouldn't have to bear. Lu Xulin wiped the tears from her eye, and after cleaning up began to skin the wolves and process the meat. I went back to my room and continued to sleep. The next morning, everyone was dumbfounded to see the wolf pelts drying at the door. Those are wolf pelts. While everyone was discussing it, Lu Hai walked over in shock. One look and he knew the wolves were freshly killed, and the technique used was absolutely professional. At this moment, Lu Xulin happened to come out. Lu Hai asked, where did these wolf pelts come from? Hearing this, Lu Xulin sighed. Wolves sneaked into the yard last night, Xiaobei, to protect both of us. Killed 2 wolves all by himself. Lu Hai's eyes widened, his expression changing from shock to pleasant surprise. That's wonderful. With Xiaobei having such skills, we can all... Everyone else was deeply moved as well, and then they started working with great enthusiasm. By the time I woke up, I saw that the yard had already been repaired. Lu Xulin saw me wake up, and handed me a paper stamped with the commune seal from the captain, telling me to keep up the good work. This is the brigade's appointment letter, Mom. From now on I can legally hunt in the mountain. Lu Xulin smiled. My son is indeed amazing. You're the youngest mountain guardian who can legally hunt. This solves our livelihood problem for now. I plan to trade some pelts for grain. Otherwise, when heavy snow seals the mountains, our food sources will noticeably decrease, and that won't do. Lu Xulin also felt this made sense, but that means going to the black market. Do you know where it is, Mom? So I decided to head into the mountains once more, so I could have things to trade for money. After eating, I went straight up the mountain and first checked my snares, to see if I had caught any prey. As a result, there was nothing at all. It seemed the animals near the wolf pack's territory had significantly decreased. There was nothing I could do. I had to keep going deeper into the mountains. I observed the tracks on the way, walked for a while, and suddenly stopped. Not a wild boar was foraging. This thing, with my current equipment, short spear and bow, is hard to deal with. I simply couldn't hurt it. A wild boar. This thing is so fierce that once it charges, it fights to the death. I was just about to retreat when I noticed movement behind me as well. Turning around, surprisingly, there was another wild boar. My heart skipped. Right now I could only escape between them. I carefully backed away. But at this critical moment, a fox unexpectedly appeared. I was stunned. In the northeast, if hunters encounter a fox in the mountain, they know this thing is fierce. The fox eye stared fixedly at me. I didn't dare to move, but the wild boar was inching closer, the distance visibly shortening. Suddenly the fox made a movement, and immediately caught the attention of the wild boar. It charged straight at me. I instinctively raised my short spear. The boar's charge not only failed to hurt me, but its skull was directly pierced by my weapon. At this moment, the other wild boar also noticed me. Roaring, it came running toward me. I didn't just stand there either. I lunged a few steps directly toward I did a forward roll, and dropped flat on the snow. The wild boar charged straight ahead while the fox scurried away. And right at that moment, I got up, drew my bow, and shot an arrow. The arrow hit the boar right in the hindquarters, and it turned to charge at me again. I grabbed my bow, and turned to run, darting back and forth through the woods. Then I stood on a steep cliff, fully drew my bow, and fired another arrow at the boar. This time it struck the boar directly in the eye socket. In pain, it couldn't stop its momentum. Bang! With a muffled thud, the boar crashed and snapped its neck, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The fox followed me from a distance, sticking out its tongue and looking at me with seemingly no malice. It looked as if it was smiling. I had no intention of touching it. For one, it doesn't taste good, and secondly, if I messed with it, the folks in the brigade would probably be scared to death. I simply tied the boar's legs properly and dragged it down the mountain. The fox followed silently behind, not to and I had no idea what it was up to. To my surprise, the fox followed me all the way to the cabin. I was a bit confused. It actually wanted to follow me home. As the fox walked over, I finally noticed it had an injured leg. I opened the door, and the fox followed me in and lay down in the yard. Mom, I'm back. Hearing this, Lu Shulin pushed the door open with a smile, and then she stood completely stunned. She saw me dragging two wild boars, with a golden-furred fox following along. Oh my god, Xiao Bei. Why did you bring Great Aunt Husan? I looked back at the fox. Where is Great Aunt Husan? Lu Shulin pointed at the doorway. Isn't that her right there? I saw her when I was a kid. Let me warn you, no one around here dares to disrespect Great Aunt Husan. I turned my head and looked at the fox again, not seeing anything special about it. Great Aunt Husan, as if it understood the fox, stretched lazily. Lu Shilin looked at the wild boars and asked excitedly, how did you manage to kill such big boars? Not even guns can kill them. I smiled and replied, didn't Great Aunt Husan help me? And then she followed me back. Lu Shilin looked at me in disbelief. I quickly laughed it off. Mom, let's clean up the boars and exchange them for some grain. So I started helping my mother process the offal, feeding all the scraps to the fox, and finished cleaning the boars. Next, the two of us carried sacks down the mountain, heading straight for the black market, which was located in the woods outside a small village. You could find anything being sold there. We saw an old man lying on a lounge chair, with a sign at his feet saying buying mountain goods at high prices. Seeing him, Lu Shilin immediately stepped forward and said, Uncle Gao, it's me, Shulin. The old man half opened his eyes. Oh, it's the land girl. Where's your dad? I haven't seen him in a long time. Lu Shilin smiled and said, my dad is too old to come down the mountain now. This is my son. We're here to sell some wild game. The old man looked me up and down. In this heavy snow up in the mountains, you can actually still find wild game. Hearing this, I smiled and opened the sack, revealing half a boar's head. The old man's eyes instantly went wide. Didn't Olu stop coming down the mountain? Who hunted this? I said with great confidence. I got it. I've taken over my grandpa's trade. The old man looked at the boar, and then back at me. Young man, you're quite something. He'll buy this for 50 cents a gin. Hearing this, I was stunned. 50 cents. The old man smiled and said, do you think I'm giving too much? Your grandfather is a regular customer of mine. I'm giving you his price. Actually, I thought it was too little. To my knowledge, even cheap pork should be 10 yuan a. But thinking about it, this is the 1960s, so 50 cents a catty expensive. This wild boar could sell for 50 or. Lu Shilin smiled and nodded, agreeing with the old man. He had us carry the boar into a small cabin, then used an abacus to settle the bill. It came to a total of 56 yuan and 50. At that moment, I noticed a Mauser pistol on the shelf and asked the price. Sir, how much for this? The old man picked up the Mauser and smiled, saying, this thing isn't cheap. It's the old man held up one finger. I knew he definitely didn't mean 10 yuan, but Lu Shulin tugged at me and said, why are you buying this? You might accidentally shoot yourself. I whispered, Mother, this thing can save lives. You never know what I might run into on the mountain. The old man nodded and smiled. Those words, the kid is absolutely right. But I'm not selling this gun. It's my old buddy. When the Japanese devils came, I relied on this gun to break out of the encirclement, and I shot more than a dozen devils, and a translator too. Hearing this, I widened my eyes. Really? Then you're an old hero. But the old man waved his hand. I just couldn't stand those devils. But if you want it, kid, get me 100 big fish, and I'll give this gun to you. I was stunned. Fish? Why do you need 100 fish? The old man chuckled. My grandson is getting married, and I didn't know what to serve for the banquet. Now we have some wild boar. We also need some fish, to let everyone eat to their fill. I nodded without hesitation and agreed. I'll get them for you. After selling the wild boar with my mother, I exchanged for some grain here at old Gao's place. It cost 22 yuan. For a full 200 caddies of grain, which is definitely enough for winter if we eat sparingly. We carried the grain on our backs and returned to the cabin. I was worried Pangxi would be scared alone at home, but upon entering I saw her happily playing with the fox. This fox is truly too smart. Seeing that I was back, Pangxi jumped into my arms. Brother, you're back. Ever since we left the Pang family, the little girl had been smiling a lot. I rubbed the top of her head. I got a lot of good stuff today. I opened the door, and mother and uncle dragged the ice sled in. Pangxi looked at the big sack with curiosity. What is this? Mother Lu Shilin smiled and explained. These are the fish your brother caught with us today. Now Xiaoxi really won't have to fear going hungry this winter. Wow. We have fish to eat. That's wonderful. Pangxi then pointed at the little fox. Is there any for him? Hearing this, I smiled slightly. Of course I prepared a lot for him. Pangxi excitedly ran back, and squatted down to rub the fox's face. Did you hear that, brother? Prepared lots of delicious food for you. Seeing this I couldn't help but shake my head and smile. You guys rest up. I'm heading back now. Come visit your grandma and grandpa more often, setting down his things. Uncle got ready to leave. I nodded vigorously, then offered to walk him out. Uncle, let me walk you back. There are wolves around here. You don't have a weapon, so it's a bit dangerous. I'll go with you. You kid know how to care for your uncle. Then walk me back for a stretch. So I grabbed my weapon, and accompanied Lin Qingxue on his way back. There were no streetlights at all in the mountain village at night. We headed down the mountain along the trail. Suddenly I noticed movement in the woods and stopped in my tracks. Lin Qingxue noticed it too, and we looked over. On a large rock in the distance, its green eyes staring straight at us, Xiaobei. Let's go get help. I shook my head. It's too late. We're surrounded. Lin Qingxue panicked a little, his body trembling uncontrollably. However, he immediately drew his spike to defend himself against any approaching wolves. I whispered, we have to find a way to retreat to the trap, or we won't survive this. Lin Qingxue nodded. If we tried to fight them head on now, we wouldn't stand a chance. So the two of us immediately moved toward the trap, but we couldn't move too fast. We couldn't let the pack sense our fear. The traps weren't far from here. Lin Qingxue and I stood back to back, staying on high alert. As we backed away, just then, rustling sounds came from all around, along with the sound of heavy breathing. After a moment, a few wolves seemed unable to hold back their bloodlust and showed themselves. I estimated we were still about 70 or 80 paces from the trap zone, but running wasn't an option. We'd probably be caught within 50 paces. Seeing the wolves show their heads more and more frequently, I knew they were testing us. Suddenly 2 wolves leaped out. I yelled at him, run. If we don't run now, we won't get the chance. Hearing this, Lin Qingxue immediately turned and ran. He had never run so fast in his entire life, but when he was about 10 paces from the trap, Qingxue subconsciously looked back. He realized that I hadn't followed him. He saw me thrusting my spear at the 2 wolves, piercing one right through the heart. Next, I pulled the spear out of the carcass. Another wolf, seizing the moment, leaped directly out of the bushes, aiming its gaping bloody maw right at my head, but I forcefully drove the short spear forward. I was like a bloodthirsty warrior on the battlefield. As I struck, blood splattered all over me because of my bearskin cloak. Combined with the wolf's blood, the remaining wolves mistook me for a wild bear. They didn't rush me immediately, but instead kept their distance. They were trying to figure out how to surround me. I grabbed my spear and ran, and the wolves immediately chased after me. I gripped my spear, sprinted for a bit, and then stopped. I was about 20 paces from the trap. At the same time, the wolves caught up. One wolf lunged, pouncing straight at me. Quick as lightning, I spun around with a backhand thrust, and pierced the wolf through. Just then, the short spear in my hand snapped with a crack. Facing the wolves attacking from behind, I drew my katana without hesitation. In an instant, with a slicing sound, the neck of a leaping wolf was cleanly severed. Lin Qingxue was absolutely dumbfounded. In his eyes, I looked like I was possessed by the god of death. Seeing me take down several more, the remaining wolves were enraged, but I wasn't going to give them a chance to attack. Seizing an opening, I dashed over to Lin Qingxue. Get up the tree, hurry. I'll cover you. Hearing this, Lin Qingxue looked around frantically, then hugged the trunk and started climbing. Even though Lin Qingxue was getting on in years, his basic tree climbing skills were still sharp. Xiaobei, get up here. Let uncle pull you up. However, I didn't climb this tree. I spotted the tallest tree, clamped my knife in my mouth, then took a running start and leaped up, grabbed the trunk, and flipped myself up. This slick move left Lin Qingxue dumbfounded. Xiaobei, were you ever a soldier? How are you so slick? I was in no mood to explain at the moment. Unslinging my bow again, I quickly aimed at the wolves below and shot from high up. With one arrow, a wolf screamed in agony. Soon, a massive pack of wolves surrounded us. One wolf triggered a trap and got snared, panicking the rest of the pack. Some also fell into the pitfall trap. Standing in the tree, I watched close and timed my shot perfectly with a flaming arrow. Whoosh! Flames instantly erupted from the pit, and the trapped wolves were burned alive. The remaining wolves were terrified and retreated with whimpers. Just then, a massive wolf howl from deep within the forest. Hearing this, I looked into the distance with excitement. I figured that guy was about to make his move. Lin Qingxue followed my gaze, and his heart instantly skipped a beat. It's the Wolf King soon after. The sound of paw steps echoed through the forest. From my high vantage point, I could see the Wolf King charging in with the pack. Not long after, a completely snow-white wolf appeared beneath the tree. This was incredibly rare. Normally, white wolves are plains wolves or tundra wolves. They rarely appear in the mountains. Deep killing intent flashed in my eye. The white wolf raised its head and locked eyes with me. I could tell from its movements that it was already injured. This was an opportunity. If we could take out the Wolf King now, the pack would definitely retreat. At this moment, the white wolf raised its head and howled at the sky. Hearing the call, the other wolves immediately surrounded my tree. Then several strong wolves charged toward Lin Qingxue. Taking a running start, they leaped high into the air. Their jumping power left Lin Qingxue dumped. Clearly, this was the Wolf King's strategy. To force my hand. It was a truly cunning and sinister tactic. Seeing that their jumps fell short, a few wolves actually started digging at the tree roots with their claws, aiming to topple Lin Qingxue's tree. This completely terrified Lin Qingxue. He kept stabbing downward with his ice pick. Seeing this, I quickly thought of a countermeasure. If this continued, Lin Qingxue would be in real danger. It was impossible to kill all these wolves. I had to find a way to get close to the Wolf King and strike it dead with one blow. Thinking of this, I looked at my knife stuck in the tree. Right now, I could only rely on this knife to fight a vicious battle. I pulled a rope from my waist and used it to bind the knife securely to my hand. Then I leaped down from the tree. The wolves instantly swarmed me. I slashed down with my knife, and one wolf fell straight into a pool of blood. Then gripping the knife with both hands, I went berserk among the pack wherever my long blade passed. Wolf blood splattered. Seizing the right moment, I charged in the direction of the Wolf King. Seeing my bloodshot eyes from the slaughter, Lin Qingxue also jumped down from it and started frantically stabbing the wolves with his ice pick. By then I had dashed right up to the Wolf King at blinding speed. Seeing this, the Wolf King bared its fangs and lunged straight at me. I swung my long knife, without hesitation, aiming right at the Wolf King's claws. However, the Wolf King was very agile and quickly dodged. But the next moment, Lin Qingxue joined the fray. He grabbed his ice pick and aimed at the Wolf King's thigh. With one thrust, the Wolf King let out a loud howl. The rest of the wolves charged over as if provoked. Just as I was about to fight with all my might, a series of whimpers suddenly came from. It sounded like a wolf cub looking for its mother. The wolf pack immediately noticed the sound and began looking around. And at that moment I saw clearly who was the little fox. I never expected the little fox to help me. It vanished in a flash. However, this sound also affected the white wolf, causing it to be distracted for a moment. I seized the opportunity and stabbed it with all my strength. This strike would decide my life or death. My stamina had bottomed. If I kept dragging this on, it would be a dead end. The Wolf King's chest was slashed open, leaving a deep wound. Blood instantly sprayed out. The Wolf King staggered and fell to the ground. Seeing that it was already dying, I took advantage of its weakness to finish it off, following up with a forceful chop. By now the Wolf King was almost completely dead. I raised the blood-stained knife, stepped on the white wolf's corpse and roared, "Come on, fight me, your grandpa." My furious shout caused the pack of wolves to turn around. Only then did they realize their Wolf King was dead, and they were so terrified that they immediately turned and fled. Beasts are just that ruthless. As the saying goes, when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. In the end, only the corpses of the wolves were left scattered on the ground. Meanwhile, my hands were shaking. That was a precursor to sheer exhaustion. I let out a sigh of relief and plopped down onto the ground. Seeing me fall, Lin Qingxue was terrified and scrambled over, shouting at me, "Xiaobei, are you alright?" He rushed over, only to find me sitting in the snow looking at him and giggling. "Uncle, what we did today is enough for us to brag about for a lifetime, right?" Lin Qingxue smiled and patted me, and I lay down on the snow alongside him. "Ha ha ha, it's enough. Many hunters can't kill a Wolf King in their entire life. You peaked on your very first try, kid." The two of us rested for a while, and finally had the strength to get up from the snow. Next, Lin Qingxue gathered all the wolves on the ground, and placed them one by one onto the ice. I walked back along the way we came, to see if I could retrieve my arrows. Shortly after, I seemed to hear a whimpering sound. I immediately grabbed my knife and walked toward the sound, pushing aside the dead grass with my knife. I found two trembling little wolf pups inside. The color of these two pups was very light, unlike ordinary wolf pup. I looked around and confirmed there were no other wolves. I originally wanted to just eliminate them at the root, but seeing the little pups stumbling toward me, I couldn't bring myself to do it. The little guys ran in circles around me, perhaps because I had the Wolf King scent on me. The pups felt especially close to me. I stuffed the two pups into my coat. The little guys were actually quite warm. When I walked back, Lin Qingxue saw the bulge in my coat and was very curious, so I smiled and opened it up to show him, which ended up terrifying him. "Oh my god. Why did you bring wolf pups back? Throw them away quickly." Hearing this, I smiled faintly. Errant dogs just domesticated wolves. These little wolf pups. If I train them from a young age, they can be my helpers in the mountains later. Lin Qingxue paused for a moment. "You really have some guts, kid. Fine. You make your own decisions." I smiled and tucked the pups back into my coat. It was getting too dark, so we had to drag the wolves and head back. As soon as we entered the cabin, Lu Shulin hurriedly came out to greet us. She was worried something had happened to me, since I hadn't returned for so long. She bumped right into us as she came out. Lu Shulin looked confused. "Brother, Didn't you go home? Lu Qingxue didn't say anything, but just gestured for me to explain hearing that. Lu Xulin froze for a moment, and quickly reached out to grab the rope, helping to pull it. Only then did she clearly see what was on the sled. Oh my. Why are there so many wolves? Did you two go hunting in the middle of the night? Lu Xulin was severely frightened. Lu Qingxue explained. Who would go hunting in the middle of the night? We ran into a wolf pack on the way. If it weren't for Xiao Bei, I would have died today hearing this. Lu Xulin hurriedly checked if I was injured. When she felt something moving in my coat, she let out a terrified scream. I was amused by her reaction. Mom, don't be afraid. I brought back 2 wolf pups to train. Lu Xulin quickly shook her head, refusing the wolf pups. How dare you keep them? Hurry up and send these wild beasts away. Seeing my mother object, I just smiled mischievously. It's fine. We have great-grandma Husan in our family. If it weren't for her today, Uncle and I really would have died. Seeing her son insist on keeping the wolf pups, Lu Xulin couldn't say much else. While counting the carcasses, Lu Xulin saw the white wolf's body. After learning it was the Wolf King, she got another fright. Hearing Lu Qingxue say I took it down all by myself. Lu Xulin was so emotional. She didn't know what to say. In her eyes, I was still just a child. Yet at such a young age, I managed to hunt down the Wolf King. Lu Xulin couldn't hold back her tears, and they kept falling down. She knew that for her son to hunt the Wolf King, he had to risk his life for it. Seeing his sister cry, Lu Qingxue also felt uncomfortable. Alright, Lanzi, after this, as long as Xiao Bei doesn't go deep into the mountains, he basically won't face any danger. Then Lu Qingxue gave me a look, and I quickly nodded. Right. I won't do it again. Seeing this, Lu Xulin wiped her tears. Go rest now. I'll handle the rest, I nodded. While Lu Qingxue smiled and said, It's fine. I'll head back first. The family must be worried too. And there are no threats nearby now. At this, Lu Xulin could finally feel relieved about her brother returning home after speaking. Lu Qingxue pulled the sled and went back, while I carried the 2 wolf pups into the house. Pangxi immediately came over and asked, Brother, what kind of puppies are these? I replied with a cheerful smile. Pangxi leaned in for a closer look, then touched them with her little hand. The trembling little things nudged her hand, making her giggle. I looked at the 2 wolf pups and smiled, saying, This one is Daqiang, and this one is Erqiang. Once Lu Xulin finished cleaning up, she returned to the house and took Pangxi to sleep. The next morning after I ate something, I got 2 fish for the wolf pups to eat. About last night's events, after Captain Lu Hai heard about it, he came over early in the morning. As soon as he entered the yard, he saw the drying wolf pelts, and was quite shocked. Xiao Bei, you are our brigade's great hero. You even hunted down the Wolf King, so the pack won't dare come near here anymore. Hearing this, I smiled. It was all just luck. Luck is a part of strength too. Are you preparing to go down the mountain to sell things? The brigade is hauling forage today, so we can drop you off along the way. Hearing that I could take a ride down the mountain, I immediately smiled. Thank you, Captain. Lu Hai patted me and said, Ah, what a good kid. Your dad and his family are truly blind. I scratched my head with a silly smile and didn't in my heart. My ties with my father's family were already severed. Before long, the brigade members arrived. A few of them helped me load the fish onto the cart. We went down the mountain together. Upon arriving at the black market, I unloaded several sacks of fish, walked up to the cart and smilingly greeted Old Man Gao. Old man, I brought what you asked for. The old man sat in his chair, merely glanced at the sacks, and pointed to the room behind him. Hearing this, I couldn't wait and walked into the room. There was a small cloth bundle on the counter. I opened it to find a gun and bullets inside and picked it up. It was heavy. I grabbed the gun and playfully aimed it with a smile. Then I put the gun away and walked out of the room. I chatted with the old man for a bit, then hurried home along the way. I didn't dare to stop at all. I only breathed a sigh of relief after getting home. With a gun, I felt much more confident. At the very least, hunting would be much easier, but I had to use the bullets sparingly. It wasn't easy to restock ammunition in this day and age. I packed away my things. Just then I heard a knock at the door. I opened it, and found my uncle Lu Qingxue somewhat anxious. Xiao Bei, your grandmother is here. It looks like she's here to cause trouble. When Lu Xulin heard her mother-in-law had arrived, she immediately frowned in worry. Seeing this, I comforted her mother. It's fine. Isn't it just about the grain? Tidy up those sacks in the corner. We're taking them away. Lu Xulin instantly understood. She covered her mouth and chuckled. You silly child, let's go. Smiling, King Zong and I each shouldered a sack and headed into the village. From we saw an angry crowd surrounding a person who was crying and shouting. Seeing this, Lu Qingxue was quite surprised. Is your grandmother usually like this at home? I nodded. She's always like this. She starts cursing at the slightest displeasure. Lu Qingxue sighed. It shows how hard things have been for you these years. I smiled faintly. Let's go then. We should get this sorted out first. When everyone saw us coming, they immediately cleared a path. The moment my grandmother saw me, she grabbed my clothes and wailed, Oh, my grandson. Look at how they're bullying me. However, I swatted her hand away and Why are you here? Just for the grain from back then, right? Hearing this, my grandmother immediately smiled. No one here is a wealthy landlord. Since you've already split from the family, shouldn't you return the grain to us? Hearing this, I looked at her coldly. We don't have grain. If you want, I can give you both of these sacks of fish. But on one condition: if the Pang family comes here, we won't be polite next time. The whole village can bear witness to this. Hearing this, the villagers all gave a thumbs up. and voiced their agreement when my grandmother heard there was fish for the taking. Her eyes instantly lit up. In this day and age, meat wasn't something you could easily find, and those 2 sacks didn't look small at all, so she agreed, fine. It's not like I'm trying to bully you. I just, without waiting for my grandmother to finish, I dropped the sacks directly onto the ground. Stop talking. How are you going to carry these back? Your second uncle is waiting outside the village. He doesn't dare come in. I knew without thinking why that second uncle was just a lazy, idle scoundrel. He didn't dare enter the village because he was afraid of getting beaten up. Do you want to check the goods? Take it away. I won't care. Who knows if you'll sneakily swap it out, and then come here to pester us. Hearing this, grandmother quickly opened the sack to check. She found it filled with frozen solid fish. There were big ones and small ones, looking quite decent. Xiao Bei. It's not that grandmother is cruel. Grandmother just, I've heard enough. He always pulls this act outside, but has a different person at home. The kids he raised are all like this, especially my second uncle. Seeing grandmother take the things away, I immediately pulled eldest uncle away. Once we were a bit further away, Lu Qing suddenly remembered something. Xiao Bei, I remember the fish we caught weren't small at all. Where did you get so many small fish? I chuckled. Some are for feeding the foxes, and some are for the dogs. My mother sorted them yesterday. Hearing this, Lu Qingsong's eyes widened. You gave dog food to your grandmother to eat. How could you do that? It's not like it's inedible. When they're starving, they'd eagerly eat tree bark and grass root. Wouldn't they eat it? As I spoke, I still looked displeased. Eldest uncle couldn't help but laugh. You little brat. After I left, the villagers also dispersed. Only then did second uncle dare to lead his donkey into the village. Seeing his mother holding 2 sacks, he quickly took them and put them on the donkey's back. The old lady was getting on in years. He still had to wait for the donkey to eat. So second uncle led the donkey home. Before leaving, the old lady instructed, take the things to my place. We are one family. Don't let your wife take it back for her maiden family to eat. Got it, mother, he said as he led the donkey back. Although he readily agreed, he actually didn't think so in his heart. As soon as he got home, he immediately closed the door and quickly called his wife out. Then he poured out the contents of the grain sack. As soon as it was poured out, both of them were stunned. There were indeed big fish on top, but underneath were all small fish, and further down were animal innards. Second uncle was dumbfounded. Wasn't it all fish? Why are there innards here? His wife rolled her eyes, giving him a look. Are innards inedible? You're still being picky at a time like this. Second uncle thought about it and agreed, then quickly joined his wife in sorting the fish. That very night they stewed fish. Meanwhile, the old lady was at home, waiting and waiting as it was getting dark. But her second son still hadn't returned. Just then, a passing villager saw her and teased, Old Lady Pang, your family has struck it rich. Your second son is already stewing fish. It smells incredibly delicious. Hearing this, the old woman instantly grew anxious. Oh no. That prodigal son must have been fooled by that vixen again. So the old lady hurried toward her second son's house. On the way, she happened to see her eldest son, who was dead drunk. Why are you still drinking? The things your wife returned were taken by your second brother. Hurry up and go check on it. Hearing this, Pang Yufu waved his hand. Whoever in our family eats it, it's all the same, let him have it. The old lady urged anxiously beside. What do you know? 2 sacks of fish, 100. What? Pang Yufu, upon hearing that his second brother had hogged so many fish, instantly sobered up by half. After all, in this day and age, who could produce 100 caddies of fish? Let's go take a look. The mother and son hurried toward the second son's house outside the yard. Pang Yu smelled the aroma of the fish soup. At this moment, he became truly anxious. How long had it been since he last had fish? He knocked on the door anxiously and shouted, Pang Yu, open the door. Hearing his older brother's roar, Pang Yu was in fear. His wife beside him rolled her eyes. What's wrong with your family? Panicking over a little food, pale with fright, hurriedly ran out to open the door. But Pang Yufu ignored him, pushed him aside, and walked straight into the yard. The old lady was also furious. This such an ungrateful wolf. I risked my old life to get these things back from over there, and you useless coward didn't even dare enter the village. However, the second uncle's wife inside was still drinking fish with a look of disdain. Oh, brother-in-law is here. Where are the things? Pang Yu asked with a dark face. The second uncle's wife smiled slightly and pointed to the corner. Those 2 basins. Pang Yufu looked in the direction she pointed, and a meat basin was full of small fish, while the other was full of animal offal. That's not right, mother. He checked it, and the ones brought back were all big fish. The second uncle's wife snorted coldly. Brother-in-law, don't talk nonsense. You brought back a bunch of stinky rotten fish and offal, and your family treats it like treasure. Pang Yufu's face turned livid with anger. When the old lady rushed into the house and saw her daughter-in-law drinking soup, she immediately jumped up and cursed, Vixen, you'll die a horrible death. Hearing this, the second uncle's wife instantly pulled a long face. Who are you talking about? You stole our fish, whoever stole it. As if your family could afford good fish. When we got married, you even wanted to take back the 2 pots. You still haven't returned the 30 yuan you owe us. Yet you have the nerve to speak. The second uncle's wife was completely different from my mother, Lu Shulin. My mother kept quiet and only knew how to work hard. But this woman didn't do any work at home and constantly ran back to her parents' house. Even though old lady Pang couldn't stand her, she had to endure. After all, the woman had 3 older brothers, and the eldest was the production brigade captain. Where's the rest of the stuff? The old lady only cared about what was left. The daughter-in-law pointed to the corner disdainfully. There, nobody touched it. Seeing this, the old lady instantly got frantic, and it was full of big fish. Where did you take the fish? Mother, this sack only had fish on top. The bottom was all awful. Hearing this, old lady Pang was stunned for a moment. Then she slapped her second son. I checked it with my own eyes. It was all big fish. The room erupted into a fierce argument. Pang Yu couldn't explain himself no matter how hard he tried, as the old lady stubbornly insisted she had checked it herself, and Pang Yufu obviously believed his own so over a single sack of goods the family was crying and Meanwhile, the instigator was holding a bowl of hot fish soup, and a mixed grain sip of the soup. Then a bite of the steaming hot bun. That feeling was incredibly satisfying. But my mother was still bothered by what happened, Xiaobei. Wasn't it bad to give dog food to your grandma? Hearing this, I felt indignant. I didn't want to give them anything in the first place. Besides, it's still meat. In times like this, when people are starving and eating tree bark, I don't think it's excessive at all. It was bad enough that my mother slaved away for the Pang family, yet they still had the nerve to ask for that bit of bride price. But now that we've cut ties with the Pang family, I'll focus on hunting. Being a good mountain guardian will definitely give my mother and sister a good life. Early the next morning, I got a new spear from the production team. The short spear from before was broken when fighting the Wolf King. This time Lu even held a commendation meeting for me at the production team. At this very moment, I had gained the recognition of everyone in the Qinglong Brigade. If I hadn't wiped out the wolf pack, they would probably still be living in fear after the meeting. My mother Lu Shilin saw me return, and immediately greeted me with a smile. You must be tired. I made some meat stew for you. I shook my head. Mother, I plan to gather all the New Year supply. Before the heavy snow blocks the mountain, my mother paused for a moment. Oh my. The new year is almost here. Isn't it? I completely forgot about it right now. I felt something was a bit off. Ever since I walked through the door, my mother had been far too enthusiastic. Mother, you have something to say to me, don't you? My mother just grinned. You brat. You'll be 18 after the new year. Second auntie said. There's a girl in the village who's the same age as you. You need to start thinking about settling down. What? Hearing this, my eyes widened. A wife. Isn't it a bit too early for me? What do you mean early? I was already a mother when I was your age. Get married early, while I'm still healthy enough to help you take care of the kid's mother. Look how young I am. Haven't even figured out my own life yet. You're being a bit too hasty. My mother grinned. I already told second auntie, you'll at least meet her once. Is that alright with you? Besides, she might not even take a liking to you. I was just talking nonsense before. To make my mother happy. I didn't expect her to take it seriously. I couldn't really argue, so I could only try to stall. Besides, I reluctantly agreed meeting her is fine. If it doesn't work out, it'll save us the trouble. Hearing this, my mother nodded in satisfaction, and then handed me the meat stew. The two of us chatted and laughed by the oil lamp. My sister, Peng Shi, was already, even though it was freezing outside, this little home was incredibly warm. After dinner, I went back to my room to sleep. My mother lit the kerosene lamp, and carefully patched up my coat. Afraid that I might freeze in the mountain, I lay in bed watching her frail figure under the lamp. Before I knew it, tears had blurred my vision. Thread in the hands of a loving mother, clothes on the body of a wandering son tightly stitched before departure. Fearful of a delayed return, I drifted into a deep sleep. When I woke up, I found something furry next to me. I subconsciously gave it a squeeze and the little fox rubbed against my arm. Just as I was playing with the fox, someone suddenly shouted from outside. Xiaobei, Xiaobei. Come out quickly, something terrible has happened. I was startled, and immediately sat up in alarm. Soon, Lu Hai rushed in. His face was covered in sweat. What happened? Captain, what's going on? My mother hurriedly brought a bowl of water for Lu Hai. Lu Hai took it and drank it in one gulp. The farm over there received a group of sent-down youths. 8 of them were assigned to our production team, but as a result, these reckless kids tried to walk here by themselves. They got lost in the mountains. Hearing this, I frowned tightly. This was terrifying. Although I had cleared out the wolf pack, the Wolf King was already injured before it met me. So it must have been attacked by another fierce beast. I was afraid something bad might happen. Lu Hai thought for a moment and also felt things weren't simple. What kind of beast do you think it could be? Hard to say. It could be a beast, but it could also be poachers. Hearing the word poachers, Lu Hai's expression changed slightly. I often hear that there are savages roaming the mountains. These savages weren't actual primitive men. Some were murderers, who simply hid in the mountains. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and come with me to find them. Either situation is extremely dangerous. If we don't go save them, and someone actually dies, it'll be hard for me as the captain to explain. Thinking of this, Lu Hai hurriedly pulled me along, ready to head out. I quickly said, don't rush. Let me get my gun first. Right, I need to get my gun too. I'll wait for you at the brigade headquarters. After saying that, Lu rushed out anxiously. At this time, my mother looked at me worriedly, telling me to be careful. I smiled softly and told her not to worry. As I spoke, I packed my gun and ammo, and then brought along my hunting knife and spear. My mother also draped my grandpa's bearskin cape over me. If I really ran into a fierce beast, this thing could actually save my life. Fully armed, I went straight to the headquarters. By this time he was also ready, wearing a military overcoat. He was holding a hunting rifle. As for the production brigade's militia squad, they didn't have guns. They were only armed with basic tools. We hurriedly set off into the mountains together. I led the team along a small path. If it weren't for me, they wouldn't have dared to take this route at all. Rumor had it that a man-bear lived in these mountains, said to stand 3 or 4 meters tall. Who could possibly fight that? Moreover, it was said that man-bears don't hibernate. But as for what it actually looked like, no one knew. On the way, everyone talked about it vividly, while I remained silent, observing the surroundings for any clue, hoping to find the lost youth soon. Seeing me keeping quiet, Lu Hai immediately turned around and told the others to be quiet. Seeing this, the others didn't dare to chat anymore. Looking at the surroundings from afar, I suddenly stopped. Then I took out the map my grandpa had drawn. Look at the road down there leading into the mountains. It's the small path right under the opposite ridge. We're currently on the hillside. If the youth took the wrong path into the mountains, they could only go that way. Lu Hai looked in the direction I was pointing. You're pretty good knowing the mountain paths so quickly. I smiled. This is all thanks to the map my grandpa gave. Otherwise, how would I nodded? Then where do you think those reckless kids could have gone? Based on my judgment of the terrain, I quickly locked onto a direction. The youths have been in the mountains for a long time. They'll definitely try to find a place to rest. And the only suitable path is the one leading to the old forest. Hearing this, Lu Hai slapped his thigh. That's terrible. They shouldn't go to the old forest. There are tigers there. The old forest is actually a primitive forest. On my grandpa's map markings, I had seen that it was written there were tigers. And the most common ones here are Siberian tigers. Siberian tigers are the largest tigers in the world, and extremely dangerous. I subconsciously touched the barrel of my gun, my heart pounding, wondering how to deal with it. If we ran into a tiger, let alone saving people, even escaping with our lives would be... Lu Hai could see that my expression was a bit grim. What he worried about the most was me quitting. After all, I was the only one who could help him rescue them. The other guys were just here to make up the numbers, Captain. With the weapons we have right now, if we actually run into a tiger, we'd have no way to deal with it. But a tiger might not stay in the same area all the time. We need to make a decision. Do we risk saving them or head back? Lu Hai froze. He felt I was completely right. Facing a tiger with only 2 guns would just feel like a tickle to it. The biggest issue was having unarmed people with us. Going straight in would be a suicide mission. Lu Hai thought for a moment and said, the commune entrusted them to us. We can't. As for searching, we must find them. Let's go look around first. If we can't find any clues, we can't prove they went there. The old forest, then there's nothing we can do. At least we tried our best. Lu Hai put it very subtly. But I could tell the captain was right. Maybe the sent-down youth hadn't entered the old forest yet. Let's head down and look for clues first. So I led the team straight down the mountain. Although we were heading down, we were actually going deeper into the wild. There was almost no human presence here, reaching the bottom of the slope. I quickly realized something was wrong. Seeing me stop, Lu Hai also felt a bit uneasy. Xiaobei, did you find something? I made a shushing gesture. It's too quiet. Animals are naturally scarce in the mountains during winter. True. But it's never this quiet when I'm up in the mountains. At the very least, you occasionally encounter wild beasts. But we've walked for so long, and haven't even seen a single rabbit on the... Is this normal? Ask this question. Lu Hai was also stunned. Normally speaking, animals should be more concentrated at the bottom of the mountain. But we hadn't seen a single one. Lu Hai immediately raised his gun on alert. The rest of the group also felt the tense atmosphere. Many of them were ready to back out. After all, this wasn't a joke. They were risking their lives. The question of staying or leaving was in front of everyone. Lu Hai pondered for a moment, and said, if we don't even look, and just go back, we won't be able to explain it to the commune. I suggested that the others retreat to a safe... While Lu Hai and I, who had go in and search, we could also run faster if hearing that. The others cast grateful glances at me. Lu Hai trusted my judgment, so he said to the unarmed crowd, you guys turn back immediately. Without my orders, no one is allowed to rashly enter the mountain. As soon as he said this, everyone felt as if they had been pardoned, and breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't want to stay in this godforsaken place for another second. Hearing Lu Hai's order, telling them to go back, everyone left without hesitation. I led Lu Hai further into the depths, and our movements became much more agile. It was noon when we finally reached the small path at the bottom of the mountain. This path between the 2 mountains looked dark and narrow. Looking closely at the snow, one could faintly see some footprints. I grabbed some snow and dirt, smelled it, and looked at the footprints, leading all the way deep into the forest. I analyzed the situation with Lu Hai. They have a lot of people, and they don't know the way, so they shouldn't be moving fast. Let's catch up as quickly as possible. All right. You're the professional when it comes to this. Lu Hai knew very well that he could only rely on me at a time like this. We continued searching along the path as the distance closed. Many man-made traces appeared on the ground ahead, judging from the food scraps and quantity. They must have finished their rations just as we were talking. I was suddenly taken aback, and immediately looked at a tree trunk. Confused, Lu Hai also looked up. We found deep claw marks on the trunk. Neither of us dared to think deeply about such thick marks. And at this altitude, generally bears and leopards, Lu Hai's heart tightened. At the same time, I also thought of a possibility. A Siberian tiger. It really is a case of speaking of the devil. Instantly, both of our clothes were soaked in cold. These young sent-down youth really aren't afraid of death. They even dare to enter a place like this after finding the scratch marks. The 2 of us immediately sped up and headed further inside. At this very moment, I could already sense it. We must have entered the territory of a Siberian tiger. The surroundings felt eerie, filled with a deadly aura everywhere. By now, the snow on the path was already over our knees, making walking extremely difficult. Lu Hai muttered as he walked. These youths have never endured a northeast winter, yet they charge into the mountains like hotheads. Don't you think they're crazy? I suddenly raised my hand to interrupt him, instantly turning grave. Don't move. Get down. Hearing this, Lu Hai froze, and his expression grew tense. On the small hillside ahead, there seemed to be something perched. We could only see a vague outline it hunted before. So he knew it was a mountain eagle. Mountain eagles are generally scavengers, which means there is likely a corpse nearby. Xiao Bei having this thing around is not a good sign. I sighed helplessly. Let's not provoke it for now. Let's look around for a body first. Maybe it's an animal's, not a human. Lu Hai nodded. He followed me as we carefully walked through the woods. A moment later, I noticed something on the snow not far away. I cautiously approached it, and finally saw a dying deer lying on the ground. This deer had been bitten terribly. Judging by these wounds, Lu Hai and I were suddenly stunned. This deer was bitten by a large beast. The wounds were extremely deep. To be bitten this badly, why wasn't it eaten? I had a bad feeling about this. Fortunately, though, these youths might still be alive, we moved forward a bit more, and this time saw a pool of blood on the snow. I observed it carefully, and found it was human blood. The knife marks on the trees. The situation was very bad. Seeing this, Lu Hai suddenly panicked. Could the youths have run into bad guys? Let's not talk about that now. Hurry up and chase them. Lu Hai hurriedly nodded. He immediately followed me as we sprinted along the path, kicking up snow as we ran. Lu Hai trailed behind me, and quickly ran out of stamina, almost falling into the snow. At this time I crouched in a snow pit looking into the distance. Lu Hai hastily crawled over as well. From here we could see 3 people in the distance holding knives and spears hurting a group of people. Lu Hai gripped his shotgun tightly. That should be them. By this time I had already figured out a strategy, Captain. Ill approach from the flank. Keep your distance and follow. Stay alert to the surroundings. And guard against them. Having accomplices, hearing this, Lu Hai utterly incredulous. What? Are you going to fight 3 on your own? Look, they're all desperados. I turned back to look at Lu Hai. My eyes very determined. Captain, do you want them to kill those youths? Or for me to kill them? Lu Hai furrowed his brows tight. He looked at me as if I had become a completely different person. My expression was calm and unruffled, as if I didn't care about killing someone at all. Xiao Bei, this is killing a person. Aren't you afraid? I used to be, but I stopped being afraid a long time ago. Seeing me so confident. Lu Hai pondered for a moment. There really was no other way right now. I'll listen to you, Xiao Bei. But you must stay safe. To me, the lives of the sent down youth aren't as important as yours. You hear me? I nodded. Don't worry. I quickly approached those men following behind me. Lu Hai felt uneasy. He wasn't sure if what he was doing was right or wrong. After all, he was letting a child take such a risk. But by now I had already closed in, hiding among the pines and snow like a goat. As I circled behind to find an ambush spot, I finally got a clear look at the 3 men. They were wearing animal skin coats. All 3 with mud-streaked faces. The leader was holding a rifle. Seeing this, I slightly furrowed my brows and observed the situation over there. I saw the fat man among the 3 grin. Boss, these little girls are quite tender. Let's enjoy ourselves when we get back. Hearing this, the tall leader gave a cold, sinister smile. Of course we will. We hit the jackpot today. To think someone would deliver themselves to us, sent down youths. The 3 girls turned pale with fright. Just then, a young man in the group roared. You bastards, we won't bow down to you. Our comrades will never let you get away with this. Keep yapping, will you? The skinny guy kicked him and viciously beat him with a wooden stick. Seeing this, I knew I couldn't delay any longer. I had to move in and save them now. At this moment, their attention was all on the skinny guy and the young man. I quickly closed the distance. As I got closer and closer, I seized my chance. Right then, the fat man happened to have his back to me. He was basically a sitting duck, just waiting to be shot without hesitation. I sprang up from the snow, took a step forward, aimed my gun and squeezed the trigger. Bang! The gunshot echoed through the woods. The moment I fired, I exposed my... But by then, the back of the fat man's head had blown open. He fell. The tall, skinny leader immediately back in my direction. This tall, skinny guy was no ordinary. His name was Liang Sanjin. He used to be a militiaman. Back in his village, he ruined a girl from the same village, and then went on a killing spree. As for the fat guy and the little skinny guy, they were no good either, always robbing and pillaging. The fat man never expected that with 7 or 8 lives on his hands. He would die such a pathetic death, falling at the hands of a kid. My reactions were extremely fast. Seeing him fire in my direction, I instantly dropped to the ground. The gunshot rang out, the bullet grazing my scalp. Liang Sanjin never imagined that I could dodge it so quickly. He began to feel uneasy. His opponent was clearly an expert. He tried to quickly work the bolt to fire another shot at me. But at that moment, the skinny guy, to cover his boss, grabbed his machete and charged toward me. By the time I stood back up, he was only a dozen steps away from me. The situation was highly dangerous. I knew that if I hesitated even slightly, I would be killed by him. So I raised my muzzle, barely even, and fired 2 consecutive shots. Bang bang, the skinny guy was hit in the chest. He staggered and fell to the ground. As he was about to fall, I didn't forget to finish him off. I aimed at his head and fired a 3rd shot. Bang, instantly his head exploded too. Liang Sanjin completely panicked. He trembled as he pulled the bolt of his gun. Perhaps it was too cold, so his movements were slightly sluggish. At this moment, I seized the opening created by his pan, smoothly panned my muzzle, and firmly gripped the gun handle. I fired at Liang Sanjin. Bang, bang, bang. This time I emptied the entire magazine. Before he could even react, his chest was hit multiple times and he collapsed. Seeing that, I cautiously walked up, my gun always aimed at his head. Once close, I kicked the gun on the ground away. Liang Sanjin's eyes widened as he stared at me, his mouth frothing with blood. He couldn't believe that the sharpshooter who killed him was just a kid. Meanwhile, in the distance, Lu Hai got a clear view of the entire battle. He felt my movements showed professional military training, completely unlike a kid who just touched a gun. While Lu Hai was still in a daze, I acted as if I had just snapped out of it, immediately throwing the gun on the ground, then turning my head to pretend to dry heave. I even purposefully gagged myself, throwing up quite a bit. This reaction made everything seem reasonable again. Seeing this, Lu Hai hurriedly ran over. Xiaobei, are you okay? I threw up until I was covered in snot and tears, making it look incredibly realistic. Lu Hai looked at the corpses on the ground, and his heart pounded in fear. Come here. What did I tell you? Were you trying to show off? I nodded. I almost peed my pants from if I'm not careful. I might even end up having nightmares. Lu Hai patted my back. You really have guts. If it were me, I wouldn't have done much better. I just managed to force a faint smile. At this time, the other sent-down youths came over, led by a fair-faced young woman. Hello. We are the sent-down youths heading to King Longu Brigade. My name is Zhao Xiaoshen. Thank you for saving us. Hearing this, Lu Hai and I exchanged a smile. Lu Hai said, What are you doing in the no-man's zone? I am Captain Lu Hai, and this is our mountain guardian. We came here specifically looking for you. Hearing Lu Hai introduce himself, the youths immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Here, let me help you up. Come on, seeing as you have an injured person among you. Are the rest of you all right? This is no place to talk. Let's quickly leave this place. There are tigers here. Hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded. They had only heard how fierce tigers were, but had never actually seen a real one. Lu Hai quickly chimed in. You kids are really reckless. We saw tiger tracks all along the way, yet you still dared to venture deeper. Hearing this, the youth lowered their heads in embarrassment. I immediately urged them to hurry. Our weapons are completely useless against tiger. However, just as I finished speaking, a muffled thunderous roar suddenly echoed from the mountain. It was the sound of a tiger roaring in anger. Lu Hai immediately grabbed the youths and ran, yelling, Run! As Lu Hai shouted, my heart instantly sank. We were doomed. Wasn't he just alerting the tiger to our position? But it was no use saying anything now. The tiger had definitely spotted us. Lu Hai sprinted ahead, leading the way for the youths, but with an injured person. They definitely couldn't outrun it. The best solution would be to leave the injured person behind. But as a mountain guardian, I couldn't do that. I shouted to Lu Hai, Captain, you lead everyone and run. It'll lure the tiger away. Lu Hai panicked upon hearing this. Aren't you just messing around? If the tiger chases you, you won't be able to escape. I gripped my rifle tightly, my expression serious as I reassured him. All right, you guys run first. It'll take the tiger for a walk. With that, I ran in the opposite direction of the group. At this moment, Lu Hai didn't have time to hesitate. He quickly led the sent-down youths away from this hellish place. But I stopped after running only a short distance, because not far away, the tiger was staring straight at me with a playful look in its eyes. Just as the tiger was about to launch an attack on me, I calmly raised my gun and fired a shot. The tiger seemed to understand the power of bullets. It quickly dodged, and the bullet left a crater in the snow. After dodging, the tiger immediately charged toward me. I wasn't panicking. That previous shot was on purpose. At the exact moment the tiger leaped to dodge, I fired again. Bang, bang. This time the bullet grazed the tiger's paw, leaving a bloody streak. The tiger felt a sharp pain and tumbled onto the snow. I gave a smiling glance, and immediately turned and ran. With your current equipment, trying to kill a tiger is just a pipe dream. I dashed into the woods in a flash. The tiger roared furiously, and immediately followed me into the woods. But as soon as I entered the woods, I vanished. Losing sight of me, the tiger watched vigilantly around it, wondering where I went. Suddenly a sharp pain shot through its rib. The tiger let out a miserable yelp, only to realize it now had a bloody hole in its back. At that moment, the tiger locked onto my position from the gunshot. Seeing this, I stood up and immediately ran. The tiger tried to chase me, but the severe pain from its hind leg kept it from running, leaving it to let out bouts of impotent roars. Suddenly, snow rapidly fell from the trees throughout the forest. By this time, I had already run far away, following the trail all the way to catch up with the others. At this moment, Lu Hai was still leading everyone as they fled for their lives. Originally, he wanted to find some branches to light a smoke signal, but then I came running back. Seeing me stumbling and crawling over, Lu Hai yelled, You little brat, are you getting cocky just because you have some skills? If something happened to you, how am I supposed to explain it to your mother? My heart warmed, even though he was scolding me. His care for me was completely obvious. I grinned. I made a little hole in the tiger's rear. It can't chase us now. Hearing this, Lu Hai burst out laughing. You're really something, kid. Even your grandfather never shot a hole in a tiger. Touching the tiger's backside actually felt pretty good. Just as I was feeling smug, Lu Qi smilingly slapped me on the head. You little bastard. Did you think I was praising you? Saying that, Lu Hai reached out and pinched Ouch Captain. I won't dare do it again. I'll never dare again. I wailed in pain, and Lu Hai finally let go, satisfied. While I rubbed my cheek aggrievedly, I thought to myself, wasn't this all to save people? Seeing that Lu Hai didn't look right, I quickly changed my tune. I reflect on my actions. It was a severe case of individual. Lu Hai grinned. That's more like it. But you really do have some skills, kid. Hearing this, I immediately waved my hands. No way. Afraid Lu Hai was being sarcastic again. Lu Hai laughed. It's about time you found a wife. I think that sent-down girl you saved is pretty nice. I'll introduce you to. I glanced at the female sent-down youth and quickly shook my head. I'm just a mountain dare Mary, a city girl. We wouldn't be able to live together. Lu Hai chuckled. It's fine. Take your time looking. Tell me if you see someone you like. I'll be your matchmaker. I gave a dry laugh. Thanks. Finally, the task of going up the mountain to find the sent-down youth is considered complete. When the villagers saw the youths return safely, everyone couldn't help but applaud. They looked at me, the mountain guardian, in a whole new light, even calling me a reincarnated little mountain god. Everyone in the village was thrilled by my feat. But at that moment, Lu Jilin pushed through the crowd and rushed over. She grabbed me nervously and checked me up and down carefully. I heard you ran into a tiger. Lu Hai added fuel to the fire. Shilin, go back and give him a good kicking. This little brat actually shot a hole in a tiger's butt. Hearing this, Lu Shulun went right up and slapped me, but the slap was very gentle. You foolish child. How dare you mess with it? Hearing this, the villagers burst into laughter and joined in the teasing Xiaobei. How does a tiger's in a woman's? Wait, no. What if the tiger is female? She might make you take responsibility. Hearing this, Lu Hai glared at the man who spoke. Stop spouting nonsense here. Are you blind? Can't you see? There are female comrades here too. Right. Watch your language. It's called How Can You Catch Tiger Cub? Without entering the tiger's lair, Lu Hai rushed over and kicked each of the teasers. Meanwhile, Zhao Ocean heard everyone's jokes and couldn't help covering her mouth and giggling. Compared to the city, the villagers were just too simple and pure. At the commune meeting that evening, Lu Hai only mentioned that I injured Siberian tiger, but said nothing about me killing the 3 bandits. I knew Lu Hai was deliberately covering it up, and I was wondering why he chose to do so. He walked over, patted my shoulder, and called me outside. Only then could I not help but ask, Captain, why did you today? Lu knew what I was going to ask, so he spoke up first. Are you wondering why I didn't mention those 3 bandits? I nodded. Lu Hai continued. Those people deserve to die. If everyone knew about it, you'd definitely be investigated inside out. I don't want to ask where you learn your skills. Then Lu Hai's gaze became noticeably much more. You don't have any other motives being here, do you? I quickly shook my head. I just want to live a good life and protect the folks in the village along the way. Only then did I realize Lu Hai had already noticed how different I was. Lu Hai nodded in satisfaction. That's good. You don't need to worry about this matter anymore. They dare to spout nonsense. I'll make them join the mountain patrol and try spanking a tiger's butt. Hearing, my heart warmed. Thank you, Captain. Actually, alright. If you have secrets, keep them buried deep inside your stomach. Not even your mother can know, hear me. I nodded earnestly. I understand. Lu Hai patted my shoulder again and said, also our village needs to organize a mountain patrol team, and I plan to have you join. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. If I joined the mountain patrol, it meant I could regularly wander deep into the mountains. Lu Hai was taken aback. You're thinking about the tiger again, aren't you? I advise you not to go. You really have some guts. Back when you were fighting those thugs, did you secretly hide their Type 38 rifle? Just as I was about to explain, Louis lowered his voice and said, I know you like guns. Find some time to quietly sneak them back. As for bullets, I'll get them for you. Just don't go showing them off casually. I nodded hastily. You really can predict everything like a god. Lu Hai sneered. The moment you stick your butt out, I know exactly what kind of shit you're taking. As they talked, they arrived at Lu Hai's house. By the way, Xiao Bei, are you still going up the mountain lately? Yeah. I plan to get more game before the new year. Once the heavy snow seals the mountains in a few days, I won't be going up there anymore. Then during the time the mountains are sealed, you can just patrol the village. Towards the end of the year, there are always bad people lurking around. There's no shortage of thieves and robbers outside. Heavy snow suddenly began to fall. I sighed. Looks like I need to hurry up and hunt. Otherwise I really won't be able to go up the mountain. Just then a figure ran over. Captain, my daughter has a fever. We need to go down the mountain immediately. Lu Hai was taken aback. It's snowing heavily right now. How are you supposed to get down, standing to the side? I heard this and immediately interjected, where is she? Let's check on her condition first. Isn't there a doctor in the village? Hearing this, Lu Hai sighed. Our village doesn't have a clinic. The Xingfu brigade down the mountain has one, but it's over a dozen miles down the mountain road on a snowy day. She might not make it by the time we get there. Let's go see how she is first. If it's too bad, well, figure out a way to get her down the mountain. I know a bit about medicine. As long as we have medicine, she should actually be fine. Before long, the 3 of us arrived at their door. We saw a little girl looking extremely pale, twitching in her mother's arms. Nearby, Quack Dr. Sun was examined. I stepped forward and felt her forehead. It was burning hot. Quick, take off the child's clothes. Do you have any fever medication at home? Lu Hai suddenly remembered something. There's paracetamol at the brigade headquarters. All right. Will that work? That stuff works wonders. Then I asked them to wipe the child's body with warm water. Hearing that the child's clothes needed to be taken off, Quack Dr. Sun immediately tried to stop it. She has such a high fever. If you take off her clothes, she'll freeze to death. She needs. I was truly infuriated by this quack. What the hell do you know? Are you trying to kill her? If you want her to live, listen to me, everyone. Turn to look at Lu Hai at this moment. Lu Hai thought for a moment and felt my suggestion was more reliable. I'll go get the paracetamol. After saying that, he turned and left. I directed everyone in the room. The girl's father boiled water. The mother took off the child's clothes and then continuously wiped her sweat. Just then Lu Hai ran back with the medicine. Quick. I brought the medicine. I took the medicine, dissolved it in water, pinched her mouth open and poured it down. After all our efforts, the child finally stopped twitching. About 40 minutes later, the little girl's fever broke. At this time, everyone's eyes widened, their respect for me growing even more. They realized I was skilled at much more than just hunting. I looked at the little girl's flushed cheek and said, "Her fever is gone for now, but she still needs antibiotics. In the middle of the night, antibiotics will be hard to find, won't they? Xiaobei, come with me." Lu Hai suggested at this time. I nodded, okay. Let's go find a doctor. So the two of us braved the blizzard, heading down the mountain path. By the time we reached the clinic, our ankles were completely numb from the cold. We walked straight in. The doctor on duty saw both of us holding and was startled, but he breathed a sigh of relief when he realized it was a misunderstanding. Seeing Lu Hai chuckled and said, "Dr. Zhang, there's a child with a fever. Who needs antibiotics? I have some big oil here. Take it. Remember to give it to the child with warm water." Dr. Zhang drew some of the big oil with a glass syringe, injected it into an empty bottle, and handed it to Lu Hai. "How much is it?" Dr. Zhang waved his hand. "No need." Lu Hai smiled and didn't decline. "All right. I'll thank you on behalf of the child," he said, tucking the medicine into his coat. The big oil Dr. Zhang mentioned was actually an early form of penicillin. Back then, it was basically a miracle for things like fevers. It worked immediately. I accompanied Lu Hai on the difficult walk back. A huge amount of snow was blown into our faces by the wind, hitting us like tiny knives. By the time we got back to the village, I realized my face was already bleeding quite a bit, but I couldn't care less at that moment. I just focused on giving the medicine to the little girl. Seeing the child's condition visibly improve, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the girl's father thanked me. "Thank you so much, Xiaobei. If it weren't for you, my child would have perished here." I smiled and waved my hand. "Brother Xiaowu, don't mention it. If there's nothing else, the captain and I will head back now." Then the two of us left amid everyone's gratitude. Back home, Lu Julin applied lard, and the stinging pain immediately subsided a bit. I also felt my eyelids getting heavy, so I lay down on the bed and fell asleep. The next morning after breakfast, I started my daily morning run training. Compared to my physical fitness as a special forces soldier in my previous life, this small body was a bit lacking. It wasn't enough. At this moment, someone called out to me from behind Pang Bai. Wait a moment, I was stunned. I turned around and saw it was Zhao Shaoshan, the sent-down youth from the village. "Comrade Pang Bei, I heard you're the only one in the village who can sell meat." "Right. Our comrade is injured and needs some nutrition. Could you sell some meat?" To me, hearing this, I was taken aback. If it were the villagers buying meat from me, it would be fine. But with this group of sent-down youths, I was genuinely worried they couldn't keep a secret. If this got out, it would cause trouble for Lu Hai. After thinking for a moment, I refused. "You have to go to the brigade captain. It's only okay if he approves. After all, we all distribute according to labor. I don't get grain rations as the mountain guardian, so the captain allows us to trade grain for my meat." Hearing this, Shoshin's face flushed slightly, and she said somewhat embarrassedly, "Then can you come with me to talk to the captain?" I figured it wouldn't be a big deal, so I led Zhao Shen toward the captain's house. Blushing, Zhao Xiaoshen asked curiously, "Comrade Peng Bei, I heard you also took out the Wolf King, is that true?" "Yes, it's nothing much. As the mountain guardian, it's my duty." Hearing me say this, Zhao Xiaoshen's cheeks turned rosy. She lowered her head, smiled, and said, "Comrade Peng Bei, your awareness is really high." I just gave a non-committal grunt. Although Xiaoshen was quite pretty, she wasn't my type. I always felt we weren't from the same world. She was too ambitious, and though she seemed gentle, her standards were very high. I, on the other hand, was a very pragmatic person. I just wanted to survive in this environment and provide a good life for my mother and sister. At this moment, we arrived at the captain, Lu Hai's house. Just as Lu Hai was heading out, they bumped right into each other. Lu Hai froze. "Xiao Bei, why are you here?" Beside him, Zhao quickly spoke up. "Captain Lu, someone in our educated youth team is injured and needs some meat stew to recover." Hearing this, Lu Hai thought for a moment. He immediately understood why I brought Zhao Xiaoshen here, so he lowered his voice and said, "Buying meat needs to be discussed at the brigade headquarters. Here's the plan, Xiao Bei. You head home first, and I'll take Xiaoshen to the headquarters for a vote." I smiled, nodded, and turned to leave. After returning to the cabin, I casually found a wooden stump to sit. At that moment, the two wolf pups ran over and started playing around me, and I was happy to enjoy the peace. "Oh, right, Mom," the captain said. "He wants me to join the patrol team, to patrol with everyone when I'm free." Lu Xiulin stopped the work in her hands and said, "Aren't you too young? Going on patrol so early in your life?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Didn't you just say earlier that it's time I got a wife?" Hearing this, Lu Xiulin couldn't help but laugh. Has the other family responded? "Did they take a liking to you? Your second sister-in-law told me this morning that they think we're too poor." I was secretly delighted, but I kept pretending to be a bit angry on my face. Are we still poor? Who else in the village gets to eat meat every meal like us? And we have plenty of food, Lu Xiulin said in exasperation. "Didn't you dislike them too?" "That's different. Isn't it them looking down on me?" Lu Xiulin couldn't help but laugh. "All right. If they don't like you, then just let it be." I pretended to sigh helplessly and didn't continue the topic. "Right, Mom. Going into the mountains for a stroll in a bit. If any educated youth come by, just sell them some. Remember to ask if the captain has agreed to it." Hearing this, Lu Xiulin was very, "Why buy it? Just give them some and be done with it." I laughed. The captain is afraid they'll turn around and bite us after eating the meat. Then wouldn't we just be suckers? Lu Xulin thought about it for a moment, and felt the instruction made sense. All right. I then smiled, went into the house to grab my food bag, and then looked at the little fox in the yard. Do you want to go for a stroll with me? At that moment, the little fox looked up, as if it understood, and silently followed me out. My goal this time was to retrieve the Type 38 rifle I got from fighting those thugs earlier. The fox and I walked along the path, from morning until almost afternoon. I finally reached the old forest area, and seeing no new footprints on the ground, I breathed a sigh of relief. I started digging at the marked spot, and soon found the Type 38 rifle I hid. Next, I went to find the bodies of those 3 thugs, but after reaching the spot, I found that the corpses were no longer in. It was obvious they had been eaten by wild animal. I looted a military telescope from one of the bodies, and seeing the Japanese text on it, I thought, oh, it's a Japanese telescope. I couldn't help but laugh, and hung the telescope around my neck. Then I found an ammo pouch, as well as a Japanese waist pack. After taking them off, I strapped them all onto myself, and couldn't help but sigh. These old bastards were really filthy rich. After looting the bodies, I disposed of them together, and then left immediately. However, this time wasn't as thrilling as the... It seems that Siberian tiger, having had a hole blown in its backside by me, was also feeling quite miserable, and I knew it had gone deeper into hiding to heal. After getting the gun, I sang with a smile, all the way home, but halfway there, I suddenly spotted a deer foraging. I was instantly overjoyed. This stag was quite large. I looked around, and after confirming no one was there, I unslung the Type 38 rifle. Give it to you. This rifle can shoot accurately within 400 meters, especially for a top-tier sniper like me. It was. Piece of cake. I bolted, loaded, and moved to a distance, where the stag was only 300 meters away. I stopped at this distance. I had absolute certainty. I raised the gun and aimed at the stag's head. At this moment, the stag seemed to have noticed something, and became alert. But I had already held my breath, and pulled the trigger. Bang! I saw the stag run a few steps, before collapsing to the ground. This gun was not bad. It's quite accurate, and the power is decent too. One was enough to send the stag to the afterlife. I walked over, looked at the deer on the ground, and smiled faintly. I thought to myself, with this gun, when I enter the mountains in the spring, really be able to hunt anything I see. Just as I was about to head back, suddenly there was a rustling sound behind me. I immediately became alert, and my hand instinctively reached for the Mauser pistol at my waist. A moment later, 2 wolves dashed out of the bushes. I couldn't help but laugh. Good heavens, I killed their wolf king, and they still hold such a grudge. Too bad not the same person I was that day. Without giving the 2 wild wolves time to react, bang, bang. These 2 wild wolves went to join their wolf king. I looked at the prey on the ground and couldn't help but sneer. Next life, be smarter and stay away from people with guns. I packed up the prey, hummed a little tune, and dragged the prey home. When I arrived outside the courtyard gate, it was already pitch black. There was a bit of light at the gate. As I got closer, I saw my mother waiting for me with an oil lamp. My heart warmed, and I walked toward Lu Xulin with Daji. Seeing her son return, Lu Xulin couldn't help but scold. Why are you back so late? I just chuckled. I lifted the prey in my hand. Lu Xulin was surprised. Why are there wolves? I explained. They delivered themselves to my doorstep. Hearing this, Lu Xulin couldn't help but laugh, and stop scolding me. Mom made something delicious for you. You go inside first and rest, I'll bring it to you. Lu Xulin smiled and helped me drag the prey into the courtyard, and then put it into the cellar. While eating, I asked, by the way, Mom, did the sent-down youths come to buy meat? They did, and paid 1 yuan. It was the meat the captain gave, and the captain took it to them. I nodded. That way, the youth Xiu Len also sighed. They are quite pitiful too, being so far away from home, coming to this desolate place. Hearing this, I didn't say much else. The sent-down youths going to the countryside was a mandated policy. Mom, wait until spring. Well, build a heated brick bed and build a new house. That way our family's living conditions will improve. Hearing this, Lu Xulin couldn't help but laugh. What's there to improve? Isn't our life good enough already? While I was chatting and laughing with my mother, the little fox beside us suddenly raised its head and looked outside the door. I also stopped talking, and the expression on my face suddenly turned cold. Lu Xulin was startled and also looked toward the door, asking in confusion, what's wrong? I didn't answer, but immediately grabbed the gun on the table. Thieves are coming. Hearing this, Lu Xulin was startled. I immediately signaled to my mother not to make a sound, and walked straight to the door. The moment I opened the door, the little fox darted out. In the dark night, the fox's eyes glowed green. Looking extremely eerie, I leaned against the inside of the door, and saw 2 people crouching near the cellar trying to steal. Seeing this, I raised my gun and rushed out, immediately shouting, stealing is not a good habit. The 2 of them froze at the sound of my voice. When they turned around, they saw the dark muzzle of a gun pointing at them, and they were instantly terrified. And at that moment, one of them suddenly let out a miserable scream. It turned out the little fox had taken advantage of the opening to launch a sneak attack, biting down hard on one man's wrist. I shouted at them, get on the ground. Let me see your hands. The 2 of them were too scared to move. I walked straight over, and tied them up securely. Seeing that I had them tied up, Lu Xulin dared to bring the oil lamp over, and walk up closer. When we got a clear look at their faces, Lu Xulin and I were both stunned. It was Quan Mazi from the village, and the other was my old granduncle, somewhat related by blood. But I wasn't going to just let them off, since they committed a crime. They had to be punished. I was going to take them straight to the captain. Seeing this, Lu Shulin quickly pulled me back. Forget it. After all, they are relatives. It'll be embarrassing if word gets out. But I thought if I just let it go and act like this, our family would never have peace in the future. But what if I'm not home later? Hearing this, Lu Shulin sighed. All right. I'll listen to you. So I escorted the two of them to find. Lu Hai looked at the two men squatting on the ground. His face flushed red with anger. Do you two have any shame at all? How can you steal from your own relatives? Is there any law anymore? Neither of them dared to speak. Furious, Lu Hai went up and kicked them. Speak. If you don't speak, I'll send you to the police station. Hearing they'd be sent to the police station, they both panicked. Captain, please don't. We just wanted some meat. Hearing this, Lu Hai pointed at them and cursed. If everyone thought like you, how could anyone live their lives? Your behavior is a crime, understand? Tomorrow I'll hold a meeting to criticize and punish you. You definitely can't escape it. If there's a next time, expect to be locked up. Hearing that Lu Hai wouldn't send them to the police station, the two immediately promised they'd never do it again. Then Lu Hai looked at me. Xiaobei, what do you think of this arrangement? You are the party involved. I couldn't be bothered wasting words on them and said bluntly, if they re-offend, I'll show no mercy. Lu Hai added from the side, from now on, anyone who dares to steal will be beaten to death, no matter what. Hearing Lu Hai's word, the two turned pale with fright. Lu Hai sneered. Now you know fear. Xiaobei is our village's mountain guardian. He gets to eat meat through his own hard work. I'm warning you both, if you dare steal from the mountain again, I won't let you off. With Lu Hai's words, I felt reassured. I wanted to use this incident to warn the others. Don't think I'm easy to push around, or that you can all come up the mountain to steal meat. I handed them over to Lu Hai and went straight home. At noon the next day, a meeting was indeed held in the village, and Lu Hai seriously reminded everyone, if it weren't for me in the village, we would practically be surrounded by wild beasts, and there would be fatal attacks from time to time. Moreover, Lu laid down a new rule that from now, if anyone dares to mess with me, shall make sure they can't stay in the village. Such a stern warning yielded immediately. Those harboring ill intentions quickly dropped the eye, as they weren't stupid enough to ruin their future livelihood just for a moment of gluttony. I didn't attend the village meeting because I was still hunting in the mountains. Right now I was staring in shock at a corpse in the snow. It was actually a child's. I went over to inspect it and found bruises and injuries on the body. I couldn't help but frown. Who could it be? Who could be so ruthless as to do something like this to a child? I started searching the surroundings for other clues and found quite a few traces of deliberate cover-up. It looked like they headed down the mountain. I was startled and thought to myself, I need to tell Captain Lu Hai about this immediately. So I hurried back to the village. Lu Hai was stunned when he heard my report. It was a girl's body, right? I nodded. Then she must have been abandoned in the mountains to freeze to death because they couldn't afford to raise her. Since the preference for boys over girls is common nowadays, and families don't have enough food, these things inevitably happen. But I didn't think it was that simple, because the girl had clearly been abused before she died. When I shared this detail with Lu Hai, he looked at me in shock. I continued, I've inspected the wounds and investigated carefully. The perpetrator must be a psychopath. Hearing this, Lu Hai had a rough idea of what was going on, even if they couldn't afford to feed her. Does that make it right to leave her on the mountain to freeze? He agreed with my reasoning. If no one takes charge of this, then what is the point of the law? How else are we supposed to protect ourselves? Lu Hai thought for a moment and decided to call the police first, to get someone from the farm over here. He also ordered people to bring the body back first, before wild beasts eat it. The vice captain took a few militia members and had me lead the way to the body. Meanwhile, Lu Hai went to call and report to his superior. Upon receiving the call, the farm immediately took action, as it was getting dark. Several cars arrived at the production brigade. The farm personnel and the police both arrived. I took what I knew and explained it to the police in detail. Zhao Chang from the police station was stunned after hearing it. He found my professionalism quite surprising. What do you do for a living? At this moment, Lu Hai smiled from the side. This is Pang Bei, the mountain guardian. His grandfather was the mountain guardian of the previous generation. Hearing this, Zhao Chang smiled and sized me up. This young comrade is truly a talent. Your production brigade is quite lucky. At this time, a female police officer walked over. Director, we've examined it. It's exactly as Comrade Pang Bei said. The nature of this crime is extremely violent. This child suffered inhuman abuse before her death. Hearing this, Zhao Cheng's face darkened. The suspect is either someone from the production brigade down the mountain, or a ruthless bandit hiding in the mountains. Xiao Lu. Which one do you think it is? The female officer thought for a moment. Hard to say. After all, the clues are incomplete. And if it's someone hiding in the mountains, it's going to be really hard to find them. I spoke up at this moment. If they brought the girl from the village down below into the mountains, it's highly unlikely the child would cry and make a fuss, which would easily be noticed by nearby villagers. Of course, there is another possibility. That is, the child was abandoned in the mountains, and just happened to be stumbled upon by an evildoer who took the opportunity to commit the crime. But it's winter now. The only people still moving around in the mountains are either mountain guardians like me, or ruthless bandits hiding in the mountain. As I said this, Zhao Chang'e slowly clenched his fist. He thought of a certain someone. That is the ruthless bandit. After hearing this, the female officer couldn't help but sigh as well. We've tried to catch Ku Sanjin many times, but he has a gun, and the mountain area is too large, making it hard to catch him. At this point, I immediately spoke up to deny it, because I had just shot and killed Sinjin not long ago. So it couldn't be him. I proposed another possibility. That is, there might be human traffickers in these mountains. And someone bought this child. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. The possibility of what I said was quite high. Zhao Cheng instructed in a low voice, Xiao Liu, take a few comrades to the foot of the mountain to investigate, and ask if any family has lost a child. Then he turned to look at me, little brother. You are very familiar with the environment here. How about you lead us into the mountains tomorrow for a search? Right. Do you have a gun? Hearing this, I glanced at Lu Hai. Lu Hai then smiled and said, Director Zhao, the village's guns broke a long time, and our applications for new ones haven't been approved, so we haven't given the mountain guardian a gun either. Zhao Changhe grinned. Old Lu, if you have something to say, just say it straight. It's impossible to get guns from me, but I can give you a permit, so you can get your own guns, as long as you give your approval. This kid will have less trouble. Then Zhao Changhe called the policewoman Xiao Li over. Register this kid, and issue him a permit. But kid, you can use a gun, but its use is strictly limited. Only for patrolling the mountain. Hear me seeing this. I immediately nodded in agreement. I will strictly follow the rules. Zhao Changhe smiled and patted my shoulder. He nodded in satisfaction, having a good impression of me, thinking I had a sense of justice and capability. At this moment, the policewoman suggested, Director Zhao, I think Comrade Pengbi's abilities are quite impressive. We should recruit him as our patrolman. This way he'd be a huge help when we search for Kusan. Zhao Changhe thought for a moment, and felt this proposal was good. Xiao Bei, what do you think? I immediately stood up and said, no problem. But before I could finish, Lu Hai smiled and explained for me. Kui Sanjin has already been dealt with by him in the mountain. This kid took him out. Hearing this, Zhao Changhe and Xiao Liu were stunned. Zhao Changhe grabbed me by the collar. You killed Kui Sanjin. I knew I couldn't keep this hidden forever, so I openly confessed to the police. To minimize the trouble, he was killed by me. I was almost shot and killed by them too. I looted a Type 38 rifle from, which is now at my house. Sachan looked at me suspiciously, and I looked back at him. Don't I have a gun now? Where's Kui Sanjin's body hid? I quickly replied. All three of them were buried by me near the old fort. Over there. The tigers make it very dangerous. Hearing this, Zhao Changhe frowned deeply. 3 people? I froze for a moment, a bit bewildered, so I nodded. Lu Hai also immediately nodded. It was definitely 3 people. Those rescued sent-down youths can also testify. Zhao Changhe waved his hand. I'm not doubting you. It's just that there are 7 people in this gang. Hearing this, Lu Hai and I were both dumbfounded. I broke out in a cold sweat. 7 people. If we buried 3 of them, won't the other 4 come for revenge? Xiao Chang then muttered in a low voice. The little girl's death is very likely related to... This might be a warning to us. We have to catch the remaining 4 no matter what, I replied without thinking. I can help you enter the mountains. I hope to catch this gang as soon as possible. If they try to get revenge, my mother and sister are in constant danger. Zhao Cheng then suggested that the police officers stay for the day, and head to the back mountain early tomorrow morning. At this moment I was also anxious to go. Knowing that there were still 4 of them on the loose, I felt a vague sense of unease. Chief Zhao will head back first. My mother and sister are at home. I'm worried about them. After saying that, I immediately turned and left. Lu Hai then suggested, should I gather the militia tomorrow? Zhao Changye replied, that would make us easily exposed. And how many guns does your village have in total? Tell me the truth. Lu Hai thought for a moment. Xiaobei has an Arasaka Type 30 and 96, and I just have a shotgun. Zhao Changhe then said, is that kid any good with a gun? Lu Hai couldn't help but laugh. That boy is a shooting genius. I was covering him from a distance, and before I could even react, bang 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 he took out. Kui Sanjin's trio Zhao Chang genuinely felt that I was a great prospect. Later, I'll approve him as an official patrolman. That way he can get around 100 yuan in subsidies a year. It should help out his family a bit. Hearing this, Lu Hai immediately stood up to thank him. Then I must thank you, on behalf of the kid. Zhao Changhe smiled. Don't mention it. We should help however we can. Then Lu Hai recalled what happened yesterday, and suddenly paused. By the way, Chiefs, I don't know if this counts as a clue. Thieves broke into Xiaobei's house yesterday, and a body was found today. Could these 2 things be connected? Hearing this, Zhao Changhe abruptly. Such an important clue. Why didn't you say so earlier? Where are those 2 thieves? Quick, go get them, Lu Hai hurriedly sent someone to look for them. But the person returned shortly after. Captain Mazi and his dad are missing. Meanwhile, I was rushing back home. As I walked, I felt like someone was watching me. I immediately looked toward the nearby woods. Seeing me look their way, the people hiding in the bushes quickly ducked. Boss, did he spot us? Impossible, we're so far away. How could he have spotted us? However, I had already sensed that something was wrong. But I didn't stop walking. I kept going, and couldn't help but sneer. In a minute I'll show you what happens when you mess with your grandpa. I quickened my pace, and quickly returned home. Seeing me return, Lu Xiulan hurriedly walked over. Where did you go today? Why are you so late? After Lu Xiulan spoke, I put a finger to my lips to shush her and grabbed the Type 38 rifle from the wall. Quick, take Xiaoxi into the cellar. Lu Xiulan was stunned for a moment. It was sudden, but she didn't ask questions. She turned right away to grab Xiaoxi and climbed down into the cellar. I looked at the little fox. You go too, and remember to look after my mom. And the others, the little fox whimpered, and climbed inside with the wolf pups. I closed the cellar door and found something to cover it. My eyes turned extremely cold, as I slung the Type 38 rifle over my shoulder. Since you're so eager to die, don't blame your grandpa. for showing no mercy. Right after, I blended into the darkness of the night when that gang saw me return home. They immediately surrounded the place. They approached cautiously one by one, trying to check the situation inside the house. However, the yard was pitch black, with only a faint light near the window. A man peered through the gaps in the fence into the yard, his eyes revealing a vicious look. This grudge must be avenged, do it. As the man waved his hand down, a subordinate vaulted into the yard. But just as he entered the yard, a bang echoed, followed by a casing hitting the ground. The subordinate collapsed, motionless. The man was startled. What's going on? It's so dark. How did he see him? He gritted his teeth and looked around, but simply couldn't find where the shot came from. At this moment, a subordinate, why don't we burn it down? Hearing his subordinate's suggestion to burn this broken cabin, the man gave the order without hesitation. But just as the subordinate took out a fire starter, preparing to light it, the gun fired again. Bang. The man about to start the fire dropped instantly, head blown off by a single shot. Now the man panicked. Where the hell is he shooting from? Isn't he in the yard? The man furrowed his brows and couldn't care less. Hurry up and light the fire. Someone rushed to pick up the fire starter. The moment that man picked up the fire starter, bang, still just a single shot. It was as if the bullet appeared out of thin air and then vanished. This time the man was truly terrified. What kind of monster did we run into? Could it be one of those snipers they have abroad? The man had heard the elders talk about them. These people are all master marksmen and excellent at concealing themselves. They can kill an enemy without anyone noticing. The man couldn't stop trembling now because he recognized the shot came from behind, going from hunter to prey in an instant. This was unbelievable. However, there was no time for him to hesitate. He immediately shouted to his men, "Hurry into the yard. He's right behind us at this moment." The man understood everything. The first shot was because his subordinate walked in front of the window, his silhouette illuminated by the faint light inside, giving the enemy an opportunity. Then his man, picking up the fire starter, exposed his position. The enemy must have guessed the position of his head based on the height the fire starter was raised. This was truly terrifying. After his men vaulted into the yard, sure enough, the sniper didn't pull the trigger again. That kid really is outside. He leaned against the fence and sneered coldly. But what he didn't notice was that his winter breath, drifting out and illuminated by the faint light, left a barely perceptible trace. However, this tiny flaw was caught by me. Bang bang, the gunshots were like a scythe harvesting life. The bullet pierced straight through the fence and subsequently pierced right through Yes' head. Yes' eyes widened, his face full of terror and confusion. How could a kid have such masterful skills even in... He couldn't figure it out. Meanwhile, in the nearby woods, I held up my binoculars, watching the dark silhouette fall in the distance. A hint of disdain showed in my eye. As for the remaining men in the yard, they were already scared out of their wits. They had only come for $10. To lose their lives over $10. You must be joking. Not to mention they didn't even have guns. The remaining men got up and ran in terror. Damn it. But just as they were running, the gunshots rang out continuously again. Bang bang, they had barely made it out of the fence when they collapsed onto the ground. Someone saw things going wrong and immediately hid back inside. But no one was spared. Every single one had an intimate encounter with a bullet. Bang, as the last man fell to the gunshot, I finally revealed myself from the tree and walked into the yard carrying the Type 38 rifle. I coldly looked at these corpses on the ground and finally stopped my steps beside the one called Yi. He held a Nambu pistol in his hand and had a frag grenade hanging on his body. I was stunned. How did he get his hands on this thing? I stored the frag grenade away and pulled a stack of 10 yuan bills from his pocket, roughly calculating. It was about 100 yuan. The corners of my mouth curled up. Good boy, consider it a gift to your grandpa. Saying this, I pocketed the money. Right at this moment, footsteps came from outside. Chao Bei, are you alright? When I fired the first shot, Zhao Zhenguo heard the noise. He immediately found Lu Hai and rushed up the mountain. They were very nervous as the gunshots came exactly from the direction of my house. But at this moment, they were completely shocked by the scene before them. Corpses were scattered everywhere on the ground, yet there were no signs of a struggle, nor any traces of a shootout. It looked like a one-sided massacre. Moreover, Officer Liu, who was checking the body, had a very shocked expression on her face. Director, all of them were killed by a single headshot. Zhao Cheng also looked utterly bewildered. He turned around and looked. Lu Hai, did this kid really learn how to shoot from you? Lu Hai nodded and said, yeah, I told you this kid is naturally gifted. As they walked further inside, they had become somewhat numb to the shock. This marksmanship was simply too terrifying. It was nighttime after all, and judging from the angles of the bullet wounds, the kid had been hiding in the tree over there the whole time, and that wasn't their house. He was lying in ambush on the path, waiting patiently for his prey. He watched the enemies enter his home, and then took them all out at once. Thinking of this, Zhao Chang'e felt a chill go down his spine. Lu Hai knew that for a kid to do all this seemed extremely bizarre, so he immediately explained. This kid is indeed very peculiar. I've suspected it too, but his upbringing has been very transparent. Zhao Chang'e nodded. This boy really had no chance to contact outsider to develop this kind of ability. It's impossible without 3 to 5 years of professional training, which would require a massive amount of bullets. It seems this kid is truly driven by natural talent. After saying this, Zhao Cheng hurriedly shouted towards the house. Xiao Bei, are you alright? As soon as he finished speaking, I walked out of the house, wearing a fur coat, and additionally draped in a bearskin. Lu Hai rushed forward nervously and asked Xiao, how are you? Was it you who fired the gun just now? I nodded and replied it was me. I had no intention of hiding this. Otherwise, things would get even more complicated. if they asked about the detailed process. I could just explain it using a hunting lot. Captain, they were going to attack my mom and my sister. They even wanted to set fire to our house just now. How could I let them go? Zhao Chang'e couldn't help but laugh. So you just hunted them down like animal. I looked at Zhao Chang very seriously. My mom and sister were at home, what else could I do but kill them? Director, tell me, did these beasts deserve to die or not? Zhao Chang'e nodded. They deserved it, but you, kid, are really something else. To hunt down a whole group of people like animals. At this time I took a deep breath. My attitude very firm. Director, anyway I killed them, punish me however you want, it's up to you. I said this on purpose, thinking I would be arrested by the director. To my surprise, Zhao Chang suddenly burst into laughter, and said outright that I had achieved a great merit. He even proposed to commend me. But to protect me, it could only be discussed internally. Captain Lu, however, was worried that once my story spread out, it's hard to find a wife in the village. But I don't really care, because in my previous life as a sniper, I didn't look for a wife. Women will only affect I draw my... At this time, Zhao Chang seemed to think of something, his eyes lighting up as he looked at Liu Jackie beside him. Xiao Liu, do you still not have a boyfriend? Liu Jackie was a bit confused by the question. So, yeah. Hearing this, Zhao Chang had chuckled. Xiao Bei, do you want a girlfriend? A wife 3 years older brings a gold brick. Our Xiao Liu is a good girl. I didn't think much of it, but Liu Jackie became very shy. Ever since she became a forensic doctor and a police officer, it's been hard for her to find a boyfriend. Firstly, people think her job brings bad luck. Secondly, her personality makes people afraid to get close. However, she is a great beauty. Tall, slim, and exceptionally fair. At this moment, Liu Jackie whispered, if Pang Bei doesn't mind, I guess I don't care. Hearing this left me completely at a loss. If I really married this formidable woman and brought her home, wouldn't the thrill be overwhelming every day? Living like a spy movie every single day. Seeing that neither of us had any objections, Zhao Cheng gave a knowing smile. We'll talk about this later, by the way. Xiao Bei, do you know why these people wanted to get revenge on you? I looked at the bodies on the ground and shook my head, no idea. Zhao Cheng and Liu Jiaqi exchanged a glance. Chief Jai can confirm that one of them is Kui Sanjin's accomplice. These accomplices might be here for revenge. Zhao Chenghe frowned. Very few people know about Kui Sanjin. Who leaked the news? Lu from the side. The only ones who know about this are me, Xiao Bei, and those youth we rescued. Hearing this, Zhao Cheng's face darkened. Xiao Bei, keep this matter a secret for now. For the near future. Be careful. Kui Sanjin still has other accomplices out there. I nodded. As for the situation, I was very clear about it. If I really encountered them again, I wouldn't mind using my Type 38 rifle to send them to join their friend. Then we started cleaning up the bodies. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. This matter was considered over. After handling the aftermath, I walked to the cellar door and let my mother and Xiaoxi out. Lu Xiulan angrily slapped me a few times. Are you crazy? Why are you trying to be a hero? Are you trying to anger me to death? Mom, I was just worried about you and Xiaoxi's safety. Chief Zhao and Captain Lu were just here. Everything's fine now. The thought of her son living every day with his life on the line made Lu Xiulan's heart ache, and her tears couldn't help but fall. To make my mother happier, I changed the subject, saying, Chief Zhao says he wants to give me a wife. He wants Officer Lu from the police station to be my wife. What the heck? Lu Xiulan immediately broke into a wide smile. Are you talking about that fair-skinned female police officer? That girl. I remember she seems to be educated, right? Would she even be interested in you? I embarrassedly scratched my head, but she agreed. Hearing this, Lu Xiulan became even more excited, completely putting what just happened to the back of her mind. That's great. She even has a decent job. But She's a police officer, and I'm a hunter. How are we supposed to live together? Lu Xiulan thought about it, and felt it made some sense. It's fine, take your time looking. You'll eventually find a suitable one. I smiled and nodded. My mother really takes these matters to heart. I then told my mother about the gunfight outside, but only gave a vague description. I didn't say that I had killed all of them. Hearing this, Lu Xiulan realized what happened, and breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, she secretly rejoiced, thankful that she had stopped her son from buying a gun. Early the next morning, I took my mother and sister to the lake, ready to catch some fish, to stock up for the upcoming new year. I walked onto the frozen lake, carved out 2 holes in the ice, and cast the nets while waiting for the I pushed. She sat on it, cheering excitedly, waving her little hands. We had a great time playing together. Lu Xiulan watched us from the side, a smile never leaving her face. After playing for a while, I figured it was about time and pulled up the 2 nets from the ice holes. Seeing so many fish, the 3 of us smiled happily. But right at that moment, out of the nearby woods walked a group of people, all with fierce and vicious expressions. Who let you fish here? Hearing this, I frowned and asked back, what do you want? Which production brigade are you from? The reckless leader looked at me with disdain. I'm the one asking you. I couldn't help but laugh and walked straight toward the gang. The reckless guy tilted his head up, acting all high and mighty. Is that how you talk to your daddy? I suddenly headbutted the guy right on the nose. He grabbed his nose in pain and slumped to the ground. Why are you just standing there? Beat him up. Hearing his flailing words, the rest of them immediately grabbed their weapons and charged at me. Bang! A sudden gunshot rang out, and everyone froze in their tracks. They saw me holding up my Mauser pistol, pointing it at the sky, sweeping my gaze over them like I was looking at prey. Seeing this, Lu Xiulan quickly stepped forward and pulled me. Xiao Bei, how could you use a gun? I calmly explained. Mother, they crossed the cordon line directly into the mountains. Who knows if they are accomplices? With those murderers, the reckless guy glared at me. We're just here to get some fish. Who are you insulting? I smiled and pointed at him. Who gave you permission to take them? Are they yours? The reckless guy retorted unyieldingly. They're not yours anyway. They belong to the public. I laughed. I am the mountain guardian. For me to eat the fish is permitted by the state. As for you, this is called stealing public state property. Then I put on a cold face, aimed the gun at them and said, drop your weapon. Lie on the ground and show me your hands. These young men looked at each other, having no choice but to obediently drop their weapon and lie on the ground. The reckless guy was still defiant, still clamoring, kid. You've got a gun today, so you're tough. But you just wait. Hearing this, I sneered coldly and let the other young men go, leaving only the reckless guy lying on the. Then I tossed my gun on the ground, cracked my knuckles, and rolled my wrists. Come on, get up. The tall, burly guy coldly got up. He looked at me with an arrogant face. He had only one goal from the beginning. Catching fish himself was too much effort. Stealing from others was so much easier. But he didn't expect to hit a brick wall. Who would have thought such a young kid was actually the mountain guardian? I smiled and beckoned him with my finger. He immediately threw a punch at me. He was very confident in his fists. But before his punch could even land, I swept his leg and knocked him straight to the ground. I showed no mercy, stepping on his head with one foot. With a crisp crack, the reckless guy's front teeth were snapped off. Before he could react, I mounted him and slapped his face repeatedly. The punk was slapped so hard he saw stars. Lu Shulin tried to stop me, but then I slapped him again. The punk was tough though and kept cursing. Kill me if you have the guts, otherwise ill. Before he could finish, I pulled a dagger, shoved it into his mouth, and cursed, keep cursing and I'll cut off your rotten tongue to feed the fish. Just then footsteps echoed from the woods. Xiao Bei. I saw it was Zhao Cheng approaching, and a plan immediately formed in my mind. The reason Zhao Cheng came running was because those youths had asked the patrolling police for help. Hearing their description, Zhao Cheng knew right away that the punk clashing with me was a notorious scoundrel named Mu who had been arrested more than once. Afraid that I'd be at a disadvantage, Zhao Cheng hurried over. However, the scene was different from what he expected. He saw me straddling Limu and slapping him, and finally even drawing a knife. Zhao Cheng ran over and grabbed me. Are you crazy, kid? It's just a fight. Why did you pull a knife? I calmly told him that I was subduing a suspect. I found a girl's body in the mountains yesterday, and today he led people here to rob Mish with weapons. Upon hearing this, Zhao Cheng immediately realized that this was serious, as there was huge suspicion of a crime. The reason was very simple. I was the mountain guardian. I found a body yesterday and was attacked today. Their motive for the crime established. Zhao Cheng thought for a moment, then turned to the other officers and said, take Limu away. Zhao Cheng really couldn't quite figure me out. He couldn't tell if I did it intentionally or unintentionally. He patted, good job, keep it up. I smiled and nodded, glancing sideways with a cold smirk on my face. Seeing the matter resolved, I packed up the fish and returned to the cabin with my mother and sister. I spent the whole afternoon helping my mother clean the fish. Looking at the two bulging sacks of grain along with all kinds of meat, I felt extremely happy. Just as we finished, Uncle Lu Qingxue walked over smiling, holding 3 pillows. Seeing this, Lu Shulin stood up happily and said, brother, what brings you here? Have a seat. Lu Qingxue handed me the pillows. Take these inside, your aunt made them for you. I took them happily. Thank you, uncle. Take 2 common carps back to stew and bring another 2 for grandpa and... I won't be going down the mountain recently. It's been restless in the mountains these days. Lu Qingxue didn't refuse. After all, I went inside to put them away, while my uncle and mother chatted in the yard. Just then, Lu Xiaowu ran over in a hurry, shouting, where is Xiao Bei? Make him hide, quick, those bastards from the Tianjin Brigade are coming. Lu Shulin grew anxious. What for? They robbed us and got arrested by the police. How dare they think they are in the right? Lu Qingxue, immediately Tianjin Brigade, is indeed overly protective and completely unreasonable. But our captain isn't a pushover either. Keep an eye on Xiao Bei, don't let him go down the mountain. After saying that, the 2 of them got up and walked out. Hiding behind the door, I couldn't help but laugh. Was this called being overly protective? This was clearly harboring a criminal. I would have him sent to jail as well. But what I didn't expect was, the people from the Tianjin Brigade brought a backer this time. With Security Director Wang backing him up, the Jan Production Brigade in Sun Hongbin was extremely arrogant. He pointed at Nose and said angrily, Lu Hai, what's your problem? Is the whole mountain yours? Why are you so arrogant? Lu Hai directly pushed Sun Hongbin's hand. Stop pointing that dog paw at me. Believe it, snap it off. Director Wang was sitting on the side putting on airs. Seeing that the 2 were about to start fighting, he angrily slammed the table. What are you doing? Huh? Do I not exist? Hongbin then looked at Director Wang together. Sun Hongbin quickly smiled. Director Wang, they are too arrogant. They suddenly arrested our people, didn't give any explanation, and still haven't handed them over. Lu Hai defended himself calmly. Director Wang, it's not that I'm not cooperating with your work. This is the person Director Zhao specifically asked. He is currently cooperating with the police. What explanation do you want? I don't think you are being fair. Lu Hai was not intimidated at all when facing Director Wang. In the entire Qinglong Brigade, Lu Hai had the final say. Although Lu Jisai is a production team, it is not the main brigade, so it's not actually under Director Wang's jurisdiction. Hearing this, Director Wang sneered. Not being fair? Are you saying I'm favoring them and targeting you? Seeing Director Wang putting on such, Lu Hai's temper immediately flared up. Director Wang, are you clearly just trying to bully us? At this time, Lu Hai had to appear a bit more aggressive. As the captain in the villagers' hearts, he absolutely had to protect his own. Moreover, most people in Lujia belong to the Lu clan, so they are all family. Hearing Lu Hai's questioning, the villagers watching the commotion outside suddenly exploded. Some even pushed open the windows directly. pointing at Director Wang's nose and cursing. What are you looking at, you little brat, running over here? Pretending to be the big bad wolf, we call you. Director Wang give you face. You're nothing but a fart. And right at this moment, Lin Qingxue pushed his way through. As soon as he entered the room, he roared, "Is Sun Hongbin here? You dare mess with my nephew? Looking for trouble? Do you think there's no one left in our family?" He held a pickaxe handle in his hand, his eyes burning with rage, looking like he was ready to fight Sun Hongbin to the death. But before he could make a move, Lu Xiaowu next to him grabbed a long wooden bench by the wall, and in a few strides smashed it towards Sun Hongbin. "Damn you, they're orphans and a widow. And you still bully them. Do you think all the real men in our village are dead?" His last sentence successfully ignited everyone's anger. Everyone stepped up to back them up. "The kid from our Lu family is being bullied. Let's beat the crap out of him." Director Wang, who had been sitting there posing, was now scared pale. "What are you trying to do?" No one paid any attention to him, and they went straight up to dish out a beating, leaving Lu Hai standing there completely shell-shocked. Who am I? Where am I? I just wanted to act tough. He had intended to just spit out some harsh words, and then both he and Sun Hongbin would take a step back. Ultimately, the matter would be considered over. But now the situation had completely gone off the rails. Lu Hai thought for a moment, then shouted feebly, "Stop fighting, don't be impulsive. Hey, Xiao Wu. Put that thermos down. That thing costs money. Let me tell you, Lu Erju, if you dare break the light bulb, I'll twist your head off and screw it on there." Lu Hai's way of breaking up the fight left everyone speechless. It was truly unconscionable. Just as everyone was fighting intensely, suddenly an old man's voice rang out. Everyone stopped. The people of Lu Jiajai stopped when they heard it. Everyone turned their heads to look, because the person shouting was the old village chief Lu Xiao. He was an old revolutionary, had gone to school and had been a soldier, although he didn't show his face often, whether in terms of seniority or prestige. He was the top authority in the village. Seeing this, Lu Hai quickly ran over. Smiling, I said, "Third grandpa, why did you come out?" Lu Xiati snorted coldly. If I hadn't come out, wouldn't you have torn the roof off the brigade headquarters?" Lu Hai didn't dare say a word, only muttering with his head down. "Isn't it because I can't control him? They won't listen to me." Lu Xiaoti then looked at Director Wang. "The person you're looking for is our village's mountain guardian. He wasn't the one who caught them either. If you want trouble, we'll gladly oblige." Hearing this, Director Wang frowned. "What do you mean by that?" "I say, old comrade, your words are quite unprofessional. No matter where you are, you have to follow orders. If you want to manage the mountains, then go take a walk in the mountains yourself. If you can come out alive, we'll all listen to you." Hearing this, Director Wang was furious. He pointed at Lu Xiaoti and said, "I tell you, you are disrespecting me. What are you trying to do?" Just as Director Wang was throwing a fit, a young man's voice suddenly rang out. "If you want to be respected, then do something decent. You're in such a hurry to back up a few criminal suspects. Could you be accomplices?" Everyone looked towards the voice, only to find it was me, and it seemed like I had been watching the drama for a while. Director Wang frowned. "Who are you again?" I couldn't help but laugh. "You're looking for me and you don't even know who I am." He never expected that Li Mu, such a big guy and a few strong men, would end up getting beaten by a kid. He looked at me coldly. "Whether as a criminal suspect isn't for you to decide with just your mouth." But I lowered my head and sneered. I had already thought of a countermeasure before coming. "Director Wang, you haven't answered my question yet. Are you trying to exonerate Li Mu?" Director Wang was now furious. Being mocked by an old man was one thing, but now even a kid was ignoring him. He scolded me with a cold face. "Don't you dare sling mud here, is that so? Then why did you come up the mountain?" Director Wang was stunned by the question. I continued with a smile. "Think about it carefully. I'm actually saving you. Of all the times Li Mu could have entered the mountain, he just had to go when something bad happened. He went into the decent person, who would still go into the mountain, knowing someone had died there." In an instant, Director Wang broke out in a cold sweat, realizing that he was so scared that his face turned pale. "I just came to you to understand the situation, to see what was going on with Li Mu. Who knew you would misunderstand?" I could hear that Director Wang's voice was trembling. Everyone showed a look of disdain, while I merely sneered. "Director Wang, everyone is here listening. It's not just whatever you say. That makes it so." Director Wang now regretted it to his core. The other party was clearly so young, yet he didn't even have a chance to fight back. A misunderstanding is a misunderstanding. Sun Hongbin finally saw it. Director Wang was no match for me. He showed an attitude of yielding. Lu Hai immediately cleared his throat at this moment and said, "I'm telling you, Sun Hongbin, don't you come around here making a fuss in our brigade anymore. If there's a next time, he'll shove you into a cesspit." I could tell Lu Hai didn't want to blow things out of proportion, so I decided to do him a favor. "Captain Sun, from now on, don't always let yourself be used as a pawn getting sold out, while you help them count the money." Sun Hongbin immediately put on a smile. "You kid, I'm just kind-hearted and easily impulsive. It's fine. Come play at Uncle's place from now on." Sun Hongbin took a step back, and Director Wang did the right thing by backing down. None of the three parties were offended, even though he lost face. What's the use of that anyway? Initially, Lu Hai thought my appearance would complicate things, but he didn't expect me to actually calm the situation down. This further changed his impression of me. He secretly made a decision to groom this kid well, so I could take over as captain in the future, and let Lu Hai live a more relaxed life. Sun Hongbin, left with Director Wang, was dissatisfied in his heart. He could only accept it, and didn't even dare to make things difficult for me, because to put my job nicely, I'm a mountain guardly and just a desperado. Despite being able to hunt and eat meat, actually risking my life every day. After everyone dispersed, I was just about to leave, when I suddenly noticed the flashlight on the table. I couldn't help but marvel at its vintage look, which reminded me of the bits and pieces of my time as a soldier in my past life. Seeing me staring blankly at the flashlight, Lu Hai smiled and said, "Did it catch your eye, kid? This is public property, but you do need this thing." Saying that, he handed it straight to me right in front of the vice captain and the accountant. Looking delighted, I took it and fiddled with it a couple of times. "Thank you, Captain. Does this mean my family now has a household appliance?" Lu Hai gave me a smack on the head. "You little brat. Think about something proper, get out of here." I smiled, and with a twinkle in my eye I said, "Captain, how about I get some wild game tonight, and we have a few drinks at the brigade headquarters?" Hearing this, Lu Hai laughed little bay. "Are you serious? Then I'm going home to get the liquor."